Ew, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive 4-game slate heading into a Thursday night. Today's show sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. I'm Dave Loughran. With me, as always, Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Won't be with you tomorrow, though. I'm doing a strategy show for this impromptu Saturday 2-game nonsense, meaningless slate, Adam. But I'm always happy to talk basketball. What's going on, man?
What's up? I didn't even know there were games on Saturday, so glad to find that out.
Chiefs, Broncos, Eagles, Cowboys, which is an entirely meaningless game. The Eagles game, totally meaningless. I'm betting it, but from like an actual placement standpoint or standings and playoff positioning, it doesn't mean a damn thing. And then obviously the Chiefs could have some things break their way, but they need the Titans to lose to the Texans to the Texans. And I don't see that happening. So whatever. I don't care. You're going to play the slate anyway. There's probably going to be a milli maker.
Yeah, I assume I'll end up playing.
You assume you'll end up playing. Hey, how was your birthday?
It was good. Relaxing. Didn't do anything. Forgot to register DFS on the main slate, so didn't even do that. Got my ass kicked on the night slate, so that wasn't a lot of fun. But yeah, it was good.
So by relaxing, what'd you do? You watch like binge TV or something? You hang out with one of the ladies from the local watering hole?
Oh yeah, I just watched Succession and tried to catch up on that, but
did you finish it?
No, not even close. I'm on the second season.
It's solid. I finished Yellowstone yesterday too. You Yellowstone guy?
Haven't started that yet.
At all, or the new season?
At all.
Oh, okay. What about the new Dexter?
Yeah, new Dexter. I've been watching every week.
Okay, I got to catch up. I think this week was the finale, right?
Next Sunday.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm watching. Anyway, happy birthday, and happy to have you guys with us. As always, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. We got 4 games, then we'll turn it over to Greg and Eric for live before lock, take you all the way up to tip. And then they got the post show, 30-minute Yahoo show till 8 o'clock, since we got a 7:30 lock time today. So yeah, if you like the show, you want to help support us, help us combat the YouTube overlords. Now it works. Got to feed that algorithm around here. Only takes a single second to hit that thumbs up and not listen to me ask you for it all the time, incessantly driving you nuts. And hey, thanks for getting us to 70,000 subs again. If you haven't subbed, hit that subscribe button. If you hate it, we'll gladly refund your misery. If you wake up in cold sweats in the middle of the night, wishing you'd never done so, just unsubscribe. Never have to hear from me or any of us again. But I don't think you'll want to do that. Anyway, Adam, first question is always, when you look at this slate, what stands out to you the most? Or we look at stars, scrubs, can we go balanced on a day where, obviously I have no Steph Curry, which is big. You have no Draymond Green, and a couple other pretty significant ones, like the Phoenix Suns front court is still completely banged up as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can find stars on this slate, I would recommend playing them, because I don't think anybody else will have them. So it's kind of just,
I meant like I could. Yeah, Jason Tatum, not a great
I was gonna say, like it kind of just forces you into being somewhat balanced, because the most you can really pay for is Jason Tatum, Julius Randle, guys like that. So,
and Ja's not even that expensive,
right? Yeah, his price even came down. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of there's still some value, but it's a 4-game slate. There's a couple of teams that are not that interesting, that are close to full strength, but there is still some value. So like you can still get a cheap guy here or there, but it's not a slate where like you're gonna be playing a bunch of guys you really don't want to, because there's some expensive guy you have to have. Those guys just don't exist.
Yeah, that's true for sure. And obviously, when we look at our ownership projections, ownership rankings, by the way, totally free on Awesemo.com. You don't have to have a sub or anything like that if you just want to check that out. They're free. And NHL, I believe, player projections are free today as well. Yeah, NHL player projections are also free today. But yeah, ownership rankings, if you want to follow along, are free on the site for NBA. Let's go ahead and dive into this. Jason Tatum's played like 14 games without Jaylen Brown this year. So now when you look at these prices in this Boston game on the road at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks, where they're 2.5-point favorites, dreadful 208.5 total too, between two slow-paced teams, this starts to become a difficult team to get to. And even on a 4-game slate, there's just no ownership being distributed to this Boston team. And I was looking at Tatum earlier today, and it really says a lot. Like, yeah, he's a great player, but at 10-2, this is a guy that's around 1.4 fantasy points per minute in games without Jaylen Brown this year. But with Brown on the floor, he's like 1.07. So it's a massive drop off when he's playing alongside Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, it's tough really to get to any of these guys. I think this is the least appealing team on the slate, but at the same time, they're really low owned across the board, and I think they should be. But kind of the way I put it this morning on the show with Josh, and I haven't made lineups yet, so this may not end up being true, but I think it's likely that it will be. I don't think I'm going to end up getting to a lot of any individual Celtic because none of them really stand out at their salaries. But I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of my lineups just have like a Celtic thrown in because this is a team where even though their median projections aren't particularly appealing for their salaries, you still have upside. Guys like Jason Tatum certainly can be the highest scorer on this slate. Jaylen Brown can be the highest scorer. So the fact that their median projections aren't particularly appealing drives down the ownership. But when you consider the range of outcomes, they still have high ceilings, and that's reflected when you look in the boom bust tool. Jason Tatum projected for a 14% chance of being optimal, only projected for about 9.5% ownership. Same goes for guys like Horford, Smart, even Jaylen Brown going a little bit under-owned in the most recent boom bust tool update. So it's not a team that I'm prioritizing in the sense that I like really anything, but most of the other spots, with this only being a 4-game slate, most spots that you look at and you're like, oh, I can envision this guy being the best scorer, on the slate or in his price range. Most of those other spots, it's going to come with a lot of ownership. This one doesn't because they don't look quite as good.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you just go down the list of everybody from Boston, the highest projected player is Jaylen Brown at 10.9%. And I'm assuming we should get an update on ownership pretty shortly. But if you
we
had
just
to
got
pick
one like a minute ago.
Oh, we did just get it?
Yeah, 2 minutes ago.
Okay, cool. If you're looking at this team as a whole, is there anybody that you mentioned? Yeah, of course. Jason Tatum could win tournaments on a 4-game slate, especially when you don't have a lot of high-priced players and there aren't a ton of alternatives. There's no Giannis or Jokic or Embiid on this slate. There's no LeBron or KD or Harden, none of that. So it definitely opens things up a lot more for someone like Jason Tatum to give you that type of number that you need. But is there anybody here that you really do like for tournaments, just given how strange of a slate this is from a Boston team that's not getting any ownership?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one in particular. Like, I'm not looking at just Marcus Smart, for example, and saying, oh, this is where I think I end up with a lot. But it's just like they all look like they're a little bit under-owned. So it's more, I'll have lineups where, I like 7 of my plays, and then I'll close it out with a Celtic at low ownership is kind of how I see this going.
And I mean, our boom bust tool, dude, these guys have very, very low boom ratings, even for an abbreviated slate. Last I looked, they're both around 8%.
Brown and Tatum are at 12 on DraftKings. Horford's at 10. Smart's at 6. Williams is at like 5.5. Schroeder's at 2.
It just updated. Wait, boom percentage for?
Oh, sorry. I was looking at optimal percentage. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. But even the optimal percentage isn't really that high.
Right. So. And that's the other thing. And that's kind of why I think I still don't prioritize anything here. It's more so just where I need a contrarian piece because, yeah, they're projected to go a little bit under-owned, but they're still projected to be shit most of the time. So it's not like I just want to be like jamming these guys in, but they do at least the whole team, basically all the starters, at least are guys where I know if I'm in a situation where, like I have popular Clippers or Suns or Grizzlies or whatever, and I need a high upside guy at lower ownership, I can go to the Celtics here and just hope that one of these guys has a ceiling game at the expense of, a couple of the other Celtics.
And last thing, but to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, when it comes to Brown and Tatum, yes, they have positive leverage scores and higher optimal percentages than their projected ownership, but you're also paying a premium for these guys, right? So it's not like you're getting them cheap.
Yeah, the way that I kind of just think about it is Jaylen Brown at 9K obviously can give you a score that is very, very good. But just like off the top of my head, you have John Morant at 9,200. And the chances of him doing that is just so much higher than Jaylen Brown that it makes it kind of just pushes Brown, not to mention other options on the slate, Devin Booker, for example. But it just kind of pushes Brown to the outer edge where it's just like, okay, well, his purpose is basically just to get me a contrarian lineup if I need it. But if I'm contrarian elsewhere, then there's no real reason for me to play somebody like Brown over somebody like Morant.
Yeah, and I mean, Morant becomes even more appealing if Brooks, who has a 28% usage rate, ends up sitting in this one alongside Bane and Melton, and if Anderson's out, there's a lot of guys that could be sidelined that are key players for this Memphis squad.
Yeah, for sure. And one way or the other, there's going to be a lot of good plays for Memphis.
Yeah, 100%. Now let's talk about the Knicks. Kemba Walker remains out. Let me start with Evan Fournier for you. This was a big topic on Twitter the other night. People just ripping this guy, 4-year contract. You bring him over they were calling it a marquee signing, but let's be honest. Like Evan Fournier is a fine player in most cases, but it's not really a huge signing when he came over. But he 0 points in 22 minutes last game. Prior to that, he did have a 20-point game 2 days prior, but 0 peripherals. Thibodeau said when they asked him if they think, when the media asked Thibodeau the other day if they thought maybe it would be a good idea to bench Evan Fournier, and kind of just get him right, he said not really, which in Thibodeau terms just doesn't mean shit at all. So I don't know. But he came out midway through the third last game, never came back in while all of the starters remained out there. So do you think there's any possibility that maybe Fournier isn't starting tonight?
I mean, I guess it's greater than 0, but I wouldn't say because of that rotation. He hasn't been closing a lot of games this year. Now, granted, they don't have Rose, they don't have Kemba, so he should be more likely to close than he was before.
That was the only reason I thought I thought he'd stay out there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of been his normal rotation for a lot of the year. They went with Quickly in the closing lineup instead. I think it's relatively likely that happens again, but I'd be kind of surprised. I'd be surprised if they went to someone else. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it at 0%, but I don't really know what purpose like throwing Quentin Grimes in place of Fournier would do.
Yeah, I don't think it would make much sense unless it was just to
change things up.
Unless it was just punishment for how Fournier's played, which doesn't seem to be, fruitful either. But what about Julius Randle here? We talked about high-priced players. He's one of those guys who, he's been fine, but not necessarily the phenomenal season that we'd be expecting him to follow up on after last year's insane resurgence of a year. But is Julius Randle at very little ownership? Well, not very little, around 16%, at least on DraftKings, 10K flat. Is this someone you want to get a decent amount of today?
Yeah, I think he looks like one of the better pay up options. He is still projected to go a little bit under owned as well on DraftKings, which is nice. He's a little bit cheaper than Tatum. You can expect him to play on average like a minute more probably. He's got almost a 30% assist percentage without Kemba or Rose on the floor this year, 25.9% usage rate. He played 39 minutes last game after being a game time decision for conditioning reasons. So, one, that Q tag was obviously bullshit. And two, there's no real reason to be concerned about his playing time here. So he looks really good. He is certainly someone where, even though he's not going over owned, if you do have a more popular lineup, you can very easily just play Jason Tatum in that spot instead at lower ownership. But I think he also looks better than Tatum if ownership's not a factor.
How about RJ Barrett? Last game just comes out in the first quarter ripping. I think he had like 22 points in the first quarter. Really huge game from Barrett, 42 minutes in that 10-point win over the Pacers. He's going to be projected now for the second most ownership here. We can talk about him and Alex Burks, both of the wing players for the New York Knicks. What are we doing with them today? It's a low scoring game, obviously, but we don't really have a ton of alternative games when we're only working with 4 of them.
Yeah, I think they're correctly priced. It looks like they're correctly owned. I'm expecting Burks to start again, play around 36 minutes or so. He's got an 18% usage rate this year when he shared the floor with Randle, without Kemba or Rose. Doesn't do a ton in terms of peripherals either, but he does enough to where he's like a 0.85 to 0.95 fantasy point per minute guy. And at 5,900, basically what has happened with Burks is he was starting earlier in the year and playing a ton of minutes. Then guys were out. The price tag elevated to like 7,500 or whatever it was. Then he moved to the bench. And so he was just like wildly overpriced. Now the price is finally adjusted to him being on the bench, and he's back in the starting lineup playing a ton of minutes. So it's gotten him basically to be a little bit underpriced or correctly priced. The ownership looks like it's about right on him. And then RJ Barrett, kind of the same thing. The ceiling is certainly there. I mean, without Kemba, without Rose, there's more usage available. You have Julius Randle that's going to take it, but Burks isn't a particularly high usage guy. Fournier sucks and isn't a very high usage guy. Mitch Robinson's not taking shots. So there's plenty of upside for RJ Barrett and plenty of minutes available as well. Certainly don't expect 42 again, but I think it's likely you get 37, 38 from Barrett, which is 6K, makes him look like a pretty solid option as well.
What do you make of Mitchell Robinson? Obviously, Nerlens Noel questionable for this one, so we'll pay attention to that. But is he someone who, with the block upside, with those games where he can haul in a lot of rebounds and give you those rogue double doubles with some big numbers with the blocks on top of that for a 4-game slate? Is he worth entertaining at all at a mid 4K price point?
As a last guy in, just to be contrarian, sure. I think that there's better center options. I'm expecting him to come off the bench again, which isn't really a problem. He's still likely to play 24 to 26 minutes, probably will be in the closing lineup, especially if Nerlens Noel is out again. He's questionable right now. But Robinson's played pretty well with the second unit this year. So I think he's fine, but I still think there's just a lot of better plays.
Yeah, and we'll get to a lot of them throughout the show. Is there anyone else for New York then?
Not that I would say is a priority. You can certainly take some shots at either one of $4,400 Fournier or 4K Emmanuel Quickly. We have Fournier going a little bit under-owned, Quickly going a little bit over-owned. I wouldn't play them together because chances are only one of them's in the closing lineup. But they're both cheap enough that they look okay, but far from any sort of priority.
I know it's a tough question here since there's not a lot from Boston, but top options from this game?
Nerlens Noel is out, so you do actually get $3,200 Taj Gibson and with power forward eligibility. That's a decent option now as well. Top options from this game: Julius Randle, Burks, Barrett.
And you think we get the same starting lineup as last game?
I think they'll keep Gibson in the starting lineup and run Robinson with the second unit. Yeah. If they don't, it doesn't really matter. Like I expect 22 minutes or so, 22, 23 minutes from Gibson one way or the other. I expect 25, 26 from Robinson one way or the other.
Even if he starts?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep moving then. We got Detroit and Memphis. The Pistons in Memphis, 12.5-point dogs, 218 total. I think we have to start with Cade Cunningham, whose price continues to kind of plummet here. He's 900 on DraftKings. Over at our sponsor, Yahoo, he's $29 on FanDuel. If you're looking to get Cade Cunningham in the lineups, he's 6,800. So if there's one thing we can say about Cade outside of the fact that his production recently has taken a hit, and he's on a team where his minutes will be kind of volatile just based on how often they're involved in on the business end of a blowout. But there's no doubt that you're starting to see him come down to a more palatable price point.
Yeah, for sure. It really just comes down to, is Detroit able to hang in this game? And
right. Which has not been the case in a lot of games.
And may or may not be tonight. But everybody's kind of aware of that too. And that's baked into his price. It's baked into his projection. He's projected for 21% ownership, 16% chance of being optimal. But if he gets 36 or 37 minutes, like if this game's competitive, he's playing most likely 36 or 37 minutes. He has a 26.5% usage rate and a 33.5% assist percentage without Jeremy Grant on the floor this year. The upside is certainly there for him. So I think he's still a pretty strong option. There's just a lot of volatility in his playing time because his team is so bad.
Yeah. Any real preference on Yahoo 29, FanDuel 68, DraftKings 7,900?
6,800 is really cheap.
It's really cheap. Yeah, it's tough to get away from that. We had a question too. I wanted to pull this up. It was over to you, but somebody had asked, I think it was Caleb, where you're at on over under points for Joval. Right? I think didn't someone?
Yeah, I replied to him. I have him at 19.5.
You have him at 19.5? Okay, yeah. And at Odd Shopper, we've got him at 17.8. So a little discrepancy there, but I don't know if this is like Prize Picks or if you're looking for a certain site, Caleb, but you can get that pretty much. Like FanDuel's got him at 18.5. No real juice on the under. So if you're doing that, shop around on Odd Shopper. Just click on that prop. And let it give you, it aggregates everything. Let it give you all of the different books that are available to you if you're trying to find the best place to bet that. Because might not sound like a lot, but that 1 point difference from like a 17.5 to 18.5 point prop is significant. And over time, that's gonna make a big difference in terms of your ROI. So utilize that. It's totally free too. And we give you the expected ROI, expected win rate on all that stuff at Odd Shopper. All right, Adam, Saddiq Bey, man. 8,500. This dude's price just keeps soaring. Who would have thought? Granted, you've got a bunch of injuries to this team, and Jeremy Grant's been out for a while. But at what point does Saddiq Bey get to a point where you're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be playing this guy anymore.
This point.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that was kind of leading you there. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's 8,500 on DraftKings, and I mean, this can go to Amadou Diallo as well at 8,300. They became even more expensive when Cade Cunningham was out. Bey will play huge minutes if this game's competitive. There's no real question there. But he loses usage with Cunningham being back. Even if you don't account for Cunningham, Bey only has a 22.9% usage rate without Grant on the floor this year, which, it's fine, but it's not really deserving of an $8,500 price tag. He's also $8,500 on FanDuel, so tough to get to him there as well. Diallo gives you a little bit of a discount on FanDuel at $7,500 compared to $8,300 on DraftKings, but the same sort of thing where, you saw one absolutely monster game from Diallo, but just some big performances when Cunningham was out. But Cunningham coming back, not only does it take usage away, it takes away ball handling, it takes away assist opportunities, and it's just, I think, close to impossible to get to these guys.
Isn't it kind of crazy though how basketball works in that? I mean, I don't know how many times you and I over the years have talked about this, where player doesn't need to be particularly great if they're going to get the minutes, if all of the key high usage starters are going to be out. And they're going to get the usage. Like Diallo played 50 minutes in that game, had 72 DraftKings points.
Yeah, it's just like different than other sports too, because like NFL, you can have guys out, and because I mean, like obviously everybody in the NBA is really, really good at basketball, but that's true for football and baseball and stuff too. But in the NFL, it's just like if the top two wide receivers are out, the third wide receiver probably isn't going to be getting open against like NFL level secondaries. Yeah. The minor leaguer called up in the majors can't hit major league pitching. Basketball is just kind of basketball, and like they don't care that much about playing defense either. So it just next guy up typically can get it done.
Well, and baseball too. If you take a bunch of your top guys out of lineup, even if it's not a guy getting called up, but it's someone in the lineup, you're talking about losing protection in a lineup. You're talking about not having guys on base for him to drive in runs. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things that play into that. With basketball, you could argue, yeah, they're just going to put more defensive pressure or attention onto Hamidou Diallo. But it's like, are they really? I mean, and he's going to shoot anyway.
There's no real, because for the most part, like NBA teams aren't playing, playoff style defense against the Pistons in December. There's no real increase in the difficulty for these guys coming, like the next guy up. It's just a matter of he's not quite as good at shooting as the guy ahead of him, but he's still really damn good at shooting. He's an NBA basketball player. So it's kind of just like, yeah, you're going to step out there and you're going to play basketball. Whereas in baseball and football, you're going up against people like a lot better than you that are actively doing something to stop you.
For sure. Yeah. How about Rudy Gobert with the Rona?
Yeah. So that means we can cap this off and get back to normal now, right? He started it. He ended it. We can.
You're saying we've come full circle, huh?
Yeah, we've come full circle. So now we can just get back to normal.
Yeah, for another year and a half until all the guys that had it get it again. I don't know. He had two negative. I turned in two negative tests the other day, like home tests, and I'm pretty certain that I had the coronavirus. Now, do a lot of people say that? Sure. And this new Omicron, it feels like the cold, they say. So I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, I still feel kind of shitty. It's been like 10 days later. So at this point, what do you really know anymore? You know
yeah. I mean? Like I was pretty convinced I had it after my Boston trip, but it was just like a bad cold, I guess.
Bad cold. Yeah. I think we just attribute everything to it. It's like, man, wicked diarrhea the past 2 days must be a symptom of the Delta, Am I wrong though? Like how many people do you know that when it first came around, we're like, man, I know in January of 2020, I had it. I had to have. Like, I never had something like that before. Never got tested because we didn't even have tests. But everyone knows they've had it before, even if they haven't.
Right.
So I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he can close the loop, and we can go back to normal. Who would that need to be for the NFL? I don't even remember who it was that first tested positive in the NFL. It wasn't a big splash because they weren't going around spitting all over the microphone.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Me neither. All right. Anything else for Detroit that you want to hit on?
Yeah. So Isaiah Stewart is off of the injury report. We haven't gotten a Detroit starting lineup to my knowledge, but I'm assuming he's going to be in it. I assume he's going to play 28 to 30 minutes somewhere in there. He's one of the cheap centers that I would rather get to than Mitchell Robinson. I don't think it's a big gap between the two, but I do prefer Stewart. 4,600 is a pretty good price tag. That will, if he starts, it'll push Trey Lyles back to the bench, pretty much take him out of play. But also Killian Hayes at 3,400. If you need a cheap value option, he is a reasonable option here. Each of the last two games, he's played like 24 to 25 minutes in 3 quarters. 2 games ago, blowout. Or no, 2 games ago, sorry, Justin Robinson closed over him. Last game was a blowout. Basically, if this game's competitive, you're getting Cunningham, Bay, Diallo, and whoever the starting center is in the closing lineup you would expect. The last spot is sort of just whoever's playing well out of Killian Hayes, Justin Robinson, Saban Lee, any of these, bench guys. So there's a path at least to 28 minutes or so for Hayes at 3,400.
Okay. All right. Let's keep it moving then. Memphis is going to be an interesting one. And yeah, Brian, I had it too back in August. I was asymptomatic, but I got some those nifty blood antibody tests and confirmed it. But who knows? There's no reference range on them. So I don't even know what that means. There's no reference range on the amount of antibodies. Like what equals protection? Who fucking knows? But we're still alive, Adam. That's all that matters, right? We're still kicking, doing the deeper dive,
Yep.
All right. John Morant. Let's start with him. I think this is the pretty obvious one here on a day where you have not a lot of top tier players, but Ja is okay. So you've got him at 9,200 on DraftKings. On Yahoo, Ja's 40, and then on FanDuel, Morant is 10-2. So yeah, 92 on DraftKings seems pretty appealing. Desmond Bane is doubtful. Kyle Anderson is doubtful. Dylan Brooks, D'Anthony Melton are both questionable. So we'll see what goes on here. All of this, COVID-19 related too. So we'll have to wait and see. This game tips at 8:00. You have a 7:30 tip. So this is the second window of games to start. Look, honestly, with Ja, you're talking 30+% usage. He's not a guy that's playing 38 minutes per game, but he's getting enough, and he's just been electric facing an awful Detroit team. So as long as this game doesn't blow out and he's done by the start of the fourth, even if he might be the reason for it. It's really hard not to like John Morant today.
Yeah, completely agree. Basically, if Dylan Brooks comes back, it's not great for Morant. It does take usage away from him. It really shouldn't, but it does. But the price tag dropped anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He's going to play 34 to 36 minutes if this game's competitive. He's still going to have, even if Brooks is back, you expect him to have around a 30% usage rate, assist percentage in the mid-30s. Good matchup. Still looks fantastic. If Brooks is out, he looks even better because you get a usage bump into the mid-30s as well. So one way or the other, Morant looks great. He is getting a lot of ownership, projected for 38% on DraftKings, but he also has a 36% chance of being optimal, which is really high for someone in that price range because there's always a lot of high upside options there. So normally, you kind of see lower optimal percentages, but it kind of just tells you how underpriced he is and also the fact that there's not that many pay up options tonight.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to talk. I mean, that's the easy part of Memphis. Now I think we have to talk about everything else. I mean, probably the other spot that makes a lot of sense here is Jaren Jackson Jr. So we can get to that as well. Look, he's got a 25% usage rate, Adam. I'll be honest. I would have expected, and maybe you feel differently, I would have expected to see some better overall rebounding numbers from Jaren Jackson if he's going to be playing, the minutes that he's getting recently, especially, but I don't know, maybe it'll come in time. You kind of are relying on Jaren Jackson to score right now, which surprised me. Not a bad shot blocker at all, but peripherals are kind of lacking this season.
Yeah, and it's not doing him any favors that Brandon Clark's back in the rotation, backing up Steven Adams, because Jackson's still getting the run without, Jackson's still playing when Adams isn't on the floor, but it was better when you had Brandon Clark being Kyle Anderson or somebody instead. But yeah, he is relatively scoring dependent. And the other thing that concerns me about Jackson is he's always had volatile playing time because of his foul trouble. But there was a nice stretch this season where when he wasn't in foul trouble, you were getting 33, 34 minutes, and you knew that going in. So at least you could say, okay, well, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, I'm going to get a bunch of minutes and he's going to look really good. Now you're getting 30, 31 minutes if he avoids foul trouble in a lot of these games. So you're kind of saying, okay, well, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, I'm getting 30 minutes at 6,100, which is fine, but nothing special. If he does get in foul trouble, I need him to get there in 25 minutes. So I still think he's a really good play just because he is so cheap and the matchup is good. But I think I'm in the same boat as you where just in general, I wish I feel like I should like Jaren Jackson even more, but he's just been kind of underwhelming from a fantasy standpoint this year.
Don't you remember how excited we were about him a couple of years ago?
I remember rostering him at 1% owned and 40% of my lineups for half of an entire season and never getting a good game from him.
You remember him like fouling out in the second quarter too, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Jaren Jackson, baby. No, but seriously, he's fine. It's just on a permanent basis, you're not getting those same counting stats as you would think that you would be. So, do I hate Jaren Jackson? No. The reason Adam, the only reason I phrased it to you that way is because he's projected for like 36% ownership, and it feels like Jaren Jackson has, multiple avenues to fail on a slate like this, even if it's 4 games at 40% ownership.
Yeah, he's also just wildly underpriced. Is the thing.
I hear you, and that's totally fair. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe
he has a 40% chance of being in the optimal lineup. In the games he's played with Dillon Brooks and Morant this year, he's averaged 1.07 DraftKings points per minute. In the games with Morant and without Brooks, he's at 1.06 or 1.07. So it hasn't really affected the production on average. If he gets his 30 minutes or so, you assume he's going to produce at an above average rate because he's facing the Pistons. He just looks like he's a very good option. The ownership I think is deserved, but yeah, there is still obviously a lot of volatility in Jaren Jackson's game.
What would you be happy with from Jackson tonight?
34 to 36.
Okay, all right. And you can see like in our boom bust tool, it gives you what the calculation is for boom. Or bust percentage, like what it actually means. So you have a better idea when you're looking through all of that. I think boom for Jackson would be around 40. So it's not like he can't get there, but I don't know. Where are you going with Brandon Clark? I know we talked about him a lot the other day. Chat's been talking about him today for good reason. He's coming in with the 3rd highest ownership for Memphis. And I think if you get the minutes that he's been seeing recently, you're probably going to feel decent about a guy who already has a high shooting percentage and is a decent enough rebounder to kind of give you what you need today. And really not a bad shot blocker either. Those are the type of numbers I'm looking for in a value power forward / center. Yeah,
Brandon Clark's a really interesting talking point to me, though, because he's getting a lot of ownership now and his price tag came up a little bit. If DeAnthony Melton is in and if Dillon Brooks is in, I kind of am scared of Brandon Clark's ownership here. And the reason is that they haven't been playing him alongside Steven Adams a lot this season. And then last game, they played like 10 minutes alongside each other. Steven Adams played 33 minutes and Brandon Clark played about 25 and a half. That was against the Cavs that play their massive front court. Now you get this Pistons team where you have Sadiq Bey and Josh Jackson and these guys. You also have Zaire Williams back. I think there's a good chance that you only get a couple of minutes of Clark alongside Adams. Now, if Clark plays, let's say Adams plays 26 and Clark plays, 22 or 24, like he's still going to look good at 4,400. But if you get that 30 to 32 minute game from Steven Adams here, I think you're only getting like 20 minutes from Brandon Clark in this matchup. And that's what concerns me at his ownership.
Okay, so let me flip this then. If you think that could be the case, do you want some Steven Adams in your non-Brandon Clark lineups?
Yeah, I think Adams is a pretty good play at 5,400. It's a spot where he should just get a million rebounds. If this game's competitive, like on average, I think you're getting around 28 minutes and Clark's playing like 22. But there's certainly the path to Adams just playing more minutes, which is what I think would really hurt Clark. So in this spot, I don't want to play them together. I was okay with it the other day because I thought that they would both just play a lot. But assuming that Melton and Brooks are in and that the Grizzlies are going to have a lot of wing depth to where they can, just play smaller 1 through 4, I wouldn't want Adams and Clark together.
Fair enough. And the saving grace with Clark is he's like a 1.15 DraftKings point per minute guy.
Yeah.
The problem is that what you're saying, the ownership, if he only plays 22 minutes or 20 minutes, then it might not be enough because of how owned he's going to be.
Right. The point per minute production is great. And it does make it so, like, if he wasn't a good point per minute
minutes.
If he wasn't a good point per minute producer, I would be saying I think he's actually a bad play.
100%.
Because if he loses the minutes, he can't get there. The thing is, at 4,400, even if he gets 20 minutes, he's going to project for 5 to 5.5 times his salary. So he's still a little underpriced. It's just that I think he's going to be rostered like he's guaranteed 24, 25 minutes when I don't really think that he is.
That's fair. Who else do you like from Memphis? And to wrap them up after that, what are you doing with the Grizzlies in the event that we don't have Brooks again and that we don't have Melton either?
Yeah, so if Melton and Brooks are in, I like both of them. Brooks at 6,200 would look really good. I assume he's just going to be good to go as long as he is in the starting lineup. DeAnthony Melton may or may not start. He was starting earlier in the year when Brooks was out alongside Bane. I don't know if they'll throw him into the starting lineup alongside Brooks or if they'll keep Tilly in there and have Melton come off the bench. But at 4,600 in a really good matchup against the Pistons, Melton would look like a good option as well. It would make Tyus Jones not interesting to me because I think it's unlikely you would get much Tyus Jones alongside Morant if both Brooks and Melton are in. If they're both out, $4,100 Tyus Jones does start to look interesting because you just have a lot of you have Bane out too, so you just have a lot of backcourt minutes available. I think it's a game where we would see a good amount of Jones alongside Morant, and they would just both look like good values. Brandon Clark would look a little bit better to me just because there would be more of a necessity for him to play the 4 because you have to have guys soaking up minutes at the 3 instead of the 4. So both of those guys would look better if Melton and Brooks are out, and then Morant and Jackson would look better just because there would be more shots available.
All right. We got 2,600 people watching right now, 346 likes. We're looking at around 13-14% ratio. Love to get it to 20. I mean, we could get to 500 likes. We need what? 154 likes with 2,600 plus people watching. I mean, do your thing. Do your thing. Make it happen around here. Make us proud. I'm pretty sure we'll get there quite easily, but just a subtle reminder for all of you who just forgot, and I don't blame you. I don't hold it against you either. Super chat from Ben Anthony. Hey, boys, big win last night. Give me a hell yeah. Congrats, man. Congrats on the win. Appreciate it. What else? Oh, yeah. See, 487 likes when we're 13 away. That was just beautiful. Beautiful. 496. We're there. We're there. Anything else on Memphis? Or you want to move on? We got 2 more games to go.
Somebody said, what do you do with Ja if everybody's in? You still play Ja.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if everybody's out, you play more Ja.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Have you heard of it? You should have, because you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum just by signing up using the link in the description, or the one that our wonderful producer and friend, Jordan Klein, is about to throw in the chat right now. Rocking the cutoff, out there in SoCal, doing his thing. Just told me about these house shoes that he paid the car payment on to walk around the house. I'm going to get some. They sound phenomenal, but he's going to throw that into chat right now. It's in the description as well. Where's producer Cam at, Jordan? It's up to you. You going to rock that shirt if we have producer Cam, or are you going to come correct with a button up? Yeah. Okay. Haircut looks good though, man. You're doing good things around here. For real though, Yahoo's got some big contests every single day. Today you get the 50K baller. They're paying out over 33. They're paying out over a third of entries. Over a third of entries. And it's not just that they're paying out over a third of entries, but a lot of these contests that they pay out, like the $1 million baller, negative management fees. Someone refer to it as rake. Negative like 25% management fees, where even if you just double up, even if you min cash, you're still doubling up. You don't get that elsewhere. So it's not just about getting a free month of Awesemo Plus, which is a $90 value, includes ownership projections, top stack tool, boom, bust tool, lineup builder. You can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, all of our premium tools for every single sport, but also the contests are better than you're going to find anywhere else, and a legitimate place to really sustain and build your bankroll without going bust. So check it out. And when you sign up, you'll get $10 in free credit when you use that link. But also on your first deposit, use the promo code Yahoo10, all one word, and get $25 additional ejected into your account. So, I mean, what are you waiting for? Don't be dumb. But for real, it's an awesome deal. Free month of Awesemo Plus. You get $35 in site credit when you sign up and use that promo code Yahoo10. And all of our tools over at Awesemo, you can use for Yahoo, right? Like all those tools I just mentioned, we have Yahoo built in for those as well. So start making some money, get the free month, get the free money, and start making more money over at Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Oh, and then if you do sign up and you get your free month, use our premium Discord, hop in that. And of course, join the Office Hours channel as well, where you got the pros from Awesemo answering your questions and helping you better your game as a DFS player. All right, let's go. Golden State, New Orleans Pelicans, Warriors, Adam, enter this game as, well, still 1-point favorites, but there's no Steph Curry. There's no Dre Green, no Toscano Anderson. let's just kick it off right away with what we're doing with Jordan Poole, because I think this is the most pressing matter and someone who's going to be getting a boatload of ownership today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's an easy way to get away from him. He's going to get a ton of ownership for sure, but he also deserves it. He's got about a 30% usage rate without Steph Curry on the floor this year, and there's no real reason to think that comes down. When you think about the rest of the starting lineup, Wiggins is going to shoot a lot. Gary Payton's not. If Otto Porter is in, he's not really a high usage guy. I mean, I know he's in. If he's starting, he's not a high usage guy. Nobody else off the bench really is either. Kevon Looney's not a high usage guy. So it should just be a lot of Jordan Poole chucking up shots. And then there's more playing time available as well with Curry out. Poole's been coming off the bench playing, 25, 26 minutes. He should get well north of 30 with these guys out. So he's going to get a lot of ownership, but I think it's also deserved. He's just a really good play. It's also a really good matchup.
So who else can we benefit? Oh, and by the way, I know that Curry being out is obviously the biggest factor here, but Dre has the highest assist rate when Curry's out. So when you take Dre off the floor, it only improves. Like Curry, or Poole without Curry and Green has 31% usage, but also a team leading 26% assist rate. So it may not seem like Dre's absence makes much of a difference, but it kind of does when you consider that he plays kind of like that point man role with Curry off the hardwood.
Yeah, completely agree. So yeah, it makes Poole less scoring dependent as well.
Yeah, which is exactly what you want from a ball handling guard. Tell me where else we're going with Golden State today with the two top options off the floor.
Yeah, so I mean, Wiggins at 6,800 looks okay. He sees a bump in usage from about 24% overall this season to 27% without Curry on the floor. Doesn't get really a bump in assist percentage no matter who you take off the floor, though. Still, isn't going to be a great rebounder. So if he's going to play 34 to 36 minutes, there's a ceiling, but he doesn't project quite as well as somebody like Poole, who gets the bump in assists as well. Gary Payton II, assuming he's going to remain in the starting lineup, should give you around 30 minutes at 4,800. Makes him look good. He's a little over a fantasy point per minute guy without Curry on the floor. He's not dependent on scoring, which is nice. He's very efficient because he scores around the rim so often, but he's a good rebounder, offers a little bit in the way of assists, makes him look like a good value. And then Kevon Looney actually is interesting to me. He's $3,900. He's averaged about 27 minutes per game in the games that Draymond hasn't played this year. It's a spot where, they play different positions, but you have to keep in mind that typically Draymond Green is closing at the 5. And if he's out, there's a good chance that Kevon Looney gets that fourth stint and you can get a little more playing time for him. So I think he looks good. The final spot in the starting lineup, rather, I'm guessing it goes to Otto Porter, but could go to any number of guys. If it's Porter, he looks okay, but 5,500 is a pretty expensive price tag if you're going to get around 30 minutes from Porter. Nemanja Bjelica at 3,400, likely to be the backup center, looks reasonable. Kuminga at 3K, I have a hard time getting there. I saw somebody mention him in chat. I have a hard time getting there unless he starts, but if he starts, I think, you give him a bump. But I would say the priorities are Poole, Payton. I'd say the priorities are Poole and Payton. Looney looks good, but he's a center. We know how that goes. Wiggins and Porter, if he starts, are fine. Bjelica off the bench is fine. Iggy's okay.
We have we got a strong bet too on Looney over at OddsShopper as well. Over 6.5 rebounds. We got him projected at 7.6, 63% expected win rate on this. Not bad. It's not one of the best ones that we have. You can sort by expected ROI and just find every best one on the entire slate. Or just be like Dave DeRemer, who you'll see in the Awesemo Hall of Fame segment, and keep using this parlay builder. I've been using it too. I love it. Keep using the parlay builder and raking it in as he's been doing. But yeah, which is awesome too. Like Jordan, if you pull it up, you can do any league you want. Like you can do all leagues. You can do any type of prop, like 10X. You could do the chalk eater, which is, chalky bets, dogs. You can do the prop party parlay where you're getting like 20-1 odds. Yeah, it's sick, especially if you don't have the time and you're researching DFS to research all of these props across all of the books. We just put everything together for you. So yeah, check out the parlay builder, especially for you guys that love tournaments, which all of us love GPPs. That's why we're here. Betting these parlays, like these 5-leg parlays, is a whole lot more fun than, betting a minus 110, side bet or total or something like that. It's not the same. This is a whole lot more fun. Anything else for Golden State?
No, I think that covers it. There's a lot of guys that you can rotate through. I think that Poole and Payton are the easiest to get to.
Okay. Talk to me about the Pels on the other side. When's Zion coming back, Adam? Ever?
I kind of hope not, because I don't want to. I hate when like guys like Zion come back like halfway through the season. You have to just completely start over with trying to figure out rates for everybody.
And when he comes back too, it's going to be like 18 minutes a game for 3 weeks.
Yeah, remember? I guess obviously it was his rookie year. He's limited to like 18 minutes in like I think it was like his first game, and he was still like wildly popular and made like 5 3-pointers.
Yeah,
and got there, and the guy doesn't even shoot threes.
Yeah, I remember that vividly. And he actually had those type of games for like 2 straight weeks where he's playing 18, 20 minutes per game and just crushing. On the Pels side, though, they'll obviously get a much easier matchup today without Curry and Dre. Where do you go with somebody like Joval to start, just being that he's the highest price option on this team?
I like him at center. He's projected for 13.5% ownership, has a 17% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Played like 37 minutes in their last game. I think on average you're getting 33 or 34. That's typically what we've seen this year, but certainly can play more. He's, like you said, no Draymond, just makes the overall matchup better. He's averaged around 1.25 fantasy points per minute in the games Ingram has played this year. So it just makes Joval look like a pretty strong option.
What about Ingram?
I think he's underpriced on DraftKings. The salary came down quite a bit and quickly. He is 8,100 with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He only played like 31 or 32 minutes last game, but he dealt with some foul trouble. Assuming this game's competitive, you're likely to get 36, 37 minutes from him. So 7,900 on FanDuel, 8,100 on DraftKings. I think he looks good. And then just double back real quick, Joval at 7,900 on FanDuel looks even better than on DraftKings.
Someone said, Laffy, now the real question is it time to panic sell crypto? Just buy him. Oh, it's Jack Off. Great name. Just keep buying more, man. Keep buying more, right, Adam?
Yeah, I bought like 15K more today.
Just put yourself in deep enough to where if it goes to zero, your life is over. And if it doesn't and it keeps going up, you're in great shape. You know what I mean? Just that's good finance. This is financial. No, I'm kidding. This is not financial advice. Yeah, take financial advice from a guy on a DFS show wearing a winter hat inside. That'll get you far. But no, I'm not. I'm personally not. No, of course not. I think he's joking because he's a pretty sharp fella. But no,
do you think he's joking because his name is Jackoff, or would that be a reason?
I mean, if you look at the spelling of that, it's really clever and impressive. And if you were to say that out loud the first time, he would get you. So I think there's some wit involved there. No,
sure. Yeah,
I think it's associated with a high IQ, Adam. I don't know. Did you put another 15K in today?
Yeah, but to be fair, it was money that I just had sitting there and hadn't gotten around to doing it. And then I happened to look at the prices. I was like, well, now's as good a time as any.
Yeah. Until tomorrow when it's down another 10%.
Right, exactly.
That's how it always happens. You're like, man, got the dip. When really what you should have done has been like, 5K today and then next week 5K. And then, but I hear you, dude. You got to do it. Just go all in. Just wager your life on it. All right. What else are you doing? And if don't take me seriously, please. Josh Hart.
I can't wait for all the tweets like 3 days from now about how you cost people money.
My life is over. I would honestly have no sympathy for that.
I know you wouldn't.
Would you?
No.
I'm a pretty sympathetic person, but like if I'm sitting here clearly laughing about that and everybody knows it's a joke and you're like, man, I liquidated my kids' college funds to buy, an altcoin that has a $10 million market cap and now it went to zero. I can't help you. And
if you're watching
you would have lost it anyway. It wouldn't be, you would have lost it anyway, and it wouldn't have been my fault.
Right. If you're watching an NBA DFS show, someone on said show tells you that you should just invest enough money that your life is over if you lose it. And your response is, that sounds like a good idea. I don't hold the person who said it responsible.
Right. Like I should not. I think that would hold up in court, don't you? Like
I don't see how it wouldn't.
Clear parody, clear or call it whatever you want. Idiocy. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, just throw your life away into crypto. All right. What do you make of did we talk about anybody or do we miss anyone else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just needed to correct this guy that thinks I only have 4 TVs. Yeah, so from the rest of New Orleans, there's still some other good spots to get to. Josh Hart at 6,400 should give you 36 minutes. Devontae Graham played 36 minutes last game. I don't expect that to happen again, but certainly could. The most kind of interesting spot to me is Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 3,900. He typically has been playing like 23 to 25 minutes off the bench. Last game, he only played 15 minutes, and that was because Ingram got in foul trouble. He played 6 minutes in the first half. So I don't really have a whole lot of confidence in Alexander Walker's playing time, but at the same time, if he gets 24, 25 minutes, like he typically has been at 3,900, that's a lot of shooting for a $3,900 price tag.
For sure. And no, I'm certainly not backpedaling. I'm telling you that you'd be an idiot to take my advice, which involves destroying your life. All right, let's close it out. Clippers and Phoenix, last game on the list. Before we do, time to induct a few people into the Hall of Fame here. You want to get involved, you want to get that free month of Awesemo Plus, go to awesemo.com/avatar, download that, use it at Yahoo, DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever you please. And when you do so, and you hit that win, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, tweet us at Awesemo, HOF. Show us what you got. Catch that love on Twitter. Get inducted over here into the Hall of Fame and get the free month of Awesemo Plus, just like Alex Baker did, Awesemo himself, when he took home the Millie the other day. We'll leave this bitch up here all damn week because it's nice to see with the full-out Seattle onslaught. And then Felix Castro rocking the Awesemo avatar in the fantasy best ball contest, which makes me happy because we spent a ton of time building up our fantasy football channel, Yahoo Fantasy Football channel on Yahoo this year. And definitely paid dividends for Felix. So I love to see that. I spent insane amount of hours during the summer and fall on that channel, trying to help people in best ball and fantasy. And Felix, love seeing that, man. Congratulations to you. And our boy, Eric Lindquist. How about that? 25K, second place in the Wednesday NBA hang time. Let's get it, fella. Making things happen. Short Gamer TV has had a huge week. Almost 400K here. I don't know why we didn't keep the other ones in there. He had 100K and a 20K too on the same night. I think it was like the night before. And then Tom, there he is, Tom Kennedy, CEO of Awesemo, right ahead, first place of our boy Dave DeRemer. And then Dave DeRemer with another parlay, yet another. Every single day, this guy's just hitting these parlays, 3 leg, 4 legs, 5 legs. Congrats to everyone. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. And if you've already been here, well, welcome back. Hit us up at Awesemo HOF with those wins, get inducted, and of course, catch that free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum in the process. All right, man, you ready to close this out? Let's do it. We got one game to go. Clippers and Phoenix Suns. Clippers 10.5-point dogs to the Suns today, Adam. 221 total. What are we doing at the top? There isn't really even a top to the Clippers anymore when it comes to price points.
Yeah, there's just kind of a decent or a good middle and a worse middle, and then some cheap guys. So we did get word that Nick Batum is going to play tonight. Xavier Moon is in health and safety protocols, so he's out of the rotation. Marcus Morris at 5,600 on DraftKings, Reggie Jackson at 6,100. They look like the top guys here. It's not a particularly appealing matchup against Phoenix. This is another game that certainly has blowout potential in Phoenix against a good Phoenix team. But Marcus Morris, 7 games played this year without Paul George and with Reggie Jackson, 23.7% usage rate. He's likely to give you 32 to 34 minutes tonight. Same can be said for Jackson, who has a 30% usage rate in those 7 games. Also has a 23.9% assist percentage. So both of those guys look pretty good. Terrence Mann, 4,900 on DraftKings, 5K on FanDuel. He's not a high usage guy, but he rebounds well. He does a decent job of gets enough assists where if he plays 34 minutes or so, he's a decent value. Ibaka's price has come up. I don't trust him to close here, but if you want to take tournament shots, that's fine. I think Morris, Jackson are the top guys here, though.
All right. Just catching up on chat here, seeing if there's anything. Oh, damn. We got 700 likes. Aiming for 500, hit 700. Woo. Let's go. Thanks, fellas. Over 3,000 watching. That's the nice thing, Adam, about these 6:30 or 7:30 slates. You get the people that come here after work, actually have some time to watch. So, yeah, appreciate you. You guys are the best. And if you didn't subscribe yet, hit that subscribe button as well. Well, last thing too, if you want to join, hit join down below, get the emojis, the custom badges, the free super chats each month. Always try and prioritize your comments and questions along with everyone in Discord. You don't have to, no big deal. If you want to though, happy to have you a part of Team Awesemo. And take advantage if you've been wanting to check out Awesemo and you haven't had the time or the wallet's tight. Use the promo code 2022. Gets you 22 days for $20. Everything on the site. All of our tools built by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. You know who he is. I don't have to tell you. Won a lot of money using those tools. So have everyone we just talked about in the Awesemo Hall of Fame segment. Or use the promo code HAPPY22. Get you 20% off the entire site for the entire year if you're looking to make a legitimate investment into this DFS game. So go to awesemo.com/promos. You don't even have to type them in. You can just click on that. Get 22 days for $20 or get 20% off everything on the site for the entire year at awesemo.com/promos. And again, join that Discord chat as well. And I think you'll like it. If you have any questions, my DMs are open on Twitter at Laffy_D. Got to follow me first, though. You don't actually. I'll answer any questions. All right, Phoenix. Let's break this down. We got about 5 minutes to go, Adam. No Ayton, no JaVale McGee. All these guys are clear in the COVID protocol. They're just out for conditioning. So Crowder remains out. Landry Shamet remains out. What are we doing now with Devin Booker and Chris Paul?
Playing as much of them as you can. Chris Paul in particular, I mean, he's 7,300. Salary dropped $100 after the last slate where he was one of the most mispriced guys. He just still looks really, really good here. Not a bad matchup against a shorthanded Clippers team. So Paul, I think, stands out as the best option. But if you can get up to Devin Booker, by all means, I mean, he's there's not that many guys on this slate that are capable of giving you 70 fantasy points. Booker's certainly one of them. So those guys both stand out, at the top end for sure.
Kevin says at Ship My Samsung, over or underweight on campaign on FanDuel.
What's his price? 4,900. Let me see his ownership. I don't love it, but if he's low owned, I think it's fine. 13%. I kind of hesitant. I guess we can just talk about him now. I hate the rotation that they used for him last game. I was pretty optimistic that he would get more run with Landry Shamet out. They haven't really loved using him alongside Chris Paul this year, but with Shamet out, I kind of thought that they wouldn't have a choice since everybody else is out. I thought that they would probably rather give Campaign a few extra minutes alongside Paul than go to like Justin Jackson. They decided to go to Justin Jackson. So do they have to do that again? No. But you got 16, almost 17 combined minutes from Ish Wainwright and Justin Jackson last game. If that's going to be what they do again, it's not great news for Payne. So from a point per minute standpoint, he's kind of like Brandon Clark. Like he can still get there in limited time, but I just hate the rotation they used last game. So it makes me a little hesitant to go to Payne.
Frank says this show's devolving into First Take ESPN territory.
Yeah, Frank thinks that Tobias, he played Tobias Harris at low ownership, and he was one of the best plays on the slate, but we didn't talk about him because we were hiding it. I think it's more likely that Frank Castle was just wrong about who's one of the best plays on the slate, or other people probably would have played him.
Results don't lie, bro.
Yeah.
Samara, thanks for the super chat. Member for 2 months, got that free super chat. Really appreciate the info daily. You're welcome, man. Thanks for hanging out. And then Who Dat Nation, Prize Picks, Jaylen Brown, Herbert Jones, Adams, Gary Payton points. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. We only have a couple minutes. I have to look, but no, seriously, go to Odd Shopper. This is not even a plug, or go use our player prop tool, which is free at Awesemo, and all of it's on there. All you have to do is look at who we have projected higher. It's super easy to use. I guess it is a plug because it's a great resource for these player prop sites, but yeah, check it out. All right, Adam, close this out. What else are we doing in the front court with Phoenix, given that we're still down key players here at the center position?
I think this is the most difficult spot to break down like on the entire, or at least to be confident. I can break it down, but to be confident in on the entire slate. We've had 2 games now where Bismack Biyombo is backing up Jalen Smith. In the first game, it was a blowout, so we didn't get to see a closing lineup. Bismack Biyombo and Smith, though, they split basically the first half minutes. Smith opened the first quarter and the second quarter. Biyombo closed the first quarter and the second quarter. Then Smith started the second half. Biyombo came in after him. Game blew out. Last game, it's really hard to look into anything because Smith not only had 4 fouls, but he also was injured and went to the locker room for a period of time. Biyombo did close that game, though. So I'm hesitant to say that I think Smith plays more than like 24 to 26 minutes. I think you could see a true split here. They did also announce earlier today that Biyombo's going to be around the rest of the year. So that's another reason where, I think that they've committed to Biyombo for the rest of the year. They wouldn't even give Jalen Smith an extension on his rookie deal. So they have like nothing, no incentive to care about Jalen Smith. But the thing that makes it really tricky is Jalen Smith's a very good point per minute guy. So at 5,300 and only like 20%, if he happened to play 30 minutes, he probably helps you win a tournament. But I just have no confidence in that happening. So the way it is right now, I think you're looking at something around 24. It makes Smith at 18% look fine because he is such a good fantasy producer, but not just risky. And then Biyombo, on the other hand, not as good a fantasy producer and only center eligible, but he is a lot lower owned. So if he were to happen to somehow get 26 minutes or something, he'd be okay. But I just think this is a risky spot. I do like, I like either one in tournaments just because I think the risk makes it so they are both a little bit lower owned than they otherwise would be. Certainly don't play them together though.
I like Biyombo quite a bit if he's going to be 6%. I mean, he's like a 0.82 DraftKings point per minute guy for his career. So it's not like he's bad. Plus it's a center position and he's pretty damn cheap. But anybody else you want to hit on for Phoenix before we turn this over to Greg and Eric?
Yeah, Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges both. Johnson's likely to give you 35, 36 minutes. He's not the best fantasy producer, but he's around the 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. Just looks pretty good. And then Mikal Bridges played almost 42 minutes last game, and I expect him to be around 40 again. He's just another guy that I think soaks up some minutes from Landry Shamet being out. He's still pretty inexpensive and not that popular. So I like getting to most of Phoenix tonight.
All right. And that's some straight love, man. 820 likes coming into this one for an hour-long 4-game slate. Appreciate y'all. It's been a good show, a fun show. Almost first take-esque, which is exactly what we're all here for. All right, Adam, final thoughts before we head out. And anything else you want to say to the people before we turn this over?
No, I think that's it.
All right, good stuff. Shouldn't have asked. We'll catch you back here tomorrow to close out the work
You should know
week.
better by now, man.
I know, I'm an idiot. Close out the work week on the Deeper Dive, presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Stick around. Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist coming up next. Peace.
Quack, quack, everybody. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Yahoo. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking through this four-gamer here on a Thursday afternoon on the West Coast, evening out on the East Coast, of course. Everybody hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Do that right off the bat because we want to bring that like count up to like 1.5K, 1.6K. We've got nearly 3,000 of you. I'm sure we'll have a couple more kind of coming on in here, but Greg Ehrenberg, that's going to be the guy. We're flip-flopping roles here, but you know what? I got to say thank you to him right off the bat, because if he didn't suggest being able to have that one day, the one Wednesday where I'm able to play a little bit more volume, there's no way that I'm playing in the 222 yesterday. So Greg, I probably owe you some dinner. Ehrenberg DFS over on Twitter. Go give him a follow. How you doing, my dude?
First off, people might not be aware of the power dynamics. Technically, I am your boss.
Technically, you are.
And we did have a meeting. I said, if there's anything you'd like to change, we're going through your content and trying to figure some stuff out. And you had said that you would like me to host some more of the shows that we do together. I was like, we could do that. How about Wednesday? It's usually a bigger one. Mm-hmm. And I was, to be honest, because people watch the shows and maybe they think that I do make fun of you quite a bit, but that's the dynamic with Eric and all his relationships. Even when we're hanging out after Locke and his wife comes, she immediately starts making fun of him as well. Everybody in Eric's life makes fun of him.
Everybody.
So it is definitely part of our friendship. But I was so excited when Eric, if you guys didn't see him, the 222 on FanDuel yesterday, Eric came in second place. He won 25K. It was really fun sweating with him in our group chat. And it really did make my night. So congratulations. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Jordan Klein down there too was just the man. You guys are the best. I really do love my coworkers. You guys are all fantastic. Thank you so much also to the chat. Such kind words. Would have been nice to get a rebound out of Nurkic or Simons, or, maybe Nurkic not just slapping Tyler Hero or whatever the heck happened. I had to turn the game off with like 3 minutes left because I knew it was going to get really, really close down to the wire there, but a really fun sweat, really fun night. Thank you to everybody reaching out. But I want all of you to be the ones to take it down here today, specifically over on Yahoo, where the best contests in the DFS industry exist. And we'll talk about them. We're going to have half an hour to dig into their slate. We'll be talking about it as we go here, Greg. But are there any pieces of news, starting lineup perhaps, something that's going to really shape your lineups as we get into this slate?
Well, we just got a starting lineup for the Golden State Warriors. Not anything that was unexpected, but it's at least a talking point for us to get into. It's the starting lineup that we were expecting. You never know in some of these situations where you could get, it is Otto Porter Jr. that's starting for the Golden State Warriors, but you never know with some of the coaches in this spot. Other than that, I mean, we are waiting on the Grizzlies news. I feel fairly confident that we're going to see Dylan Brooks and DeAnthony Melton play, so I'm not too concerned about it. Other than that, though, I know that people are ready for you to harp on late swap and how injuries and yesterday, how that helped you win money. I don't really think it's going to come into play too much today because I don't think we're going to get any kind of late news here.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, the whole key, obviously, was just being secure in the fact that Kevin Huerter was still going to play. Did I expect 47 out of the man? No, I did not. But, I also thought that there was a path to him being not duped in like a tournament with 1,500 people as opposed to, a guy that I thought was going to be much chalkier in the starting lineup, and that's Danilo Gallinari at the same price. I don't think we really have anything like that exists here on this slate. Also, coming off of a big win, I've really taught myself to not play a ton of volume the next day and try to just really double down on your win. I'm just kind of sticking to the routine, doing the same stuff. We do have an island game here at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, that becomes appealing in the event that you need to get off of some chalky pieces. Campaign gaining a ton of traction at 4,400. I think 5,600, looking at a Marcus Morris, that's going to be a guy that, in the event that you have lineups that are doing poorly, you need to get off of stuff like that. I think that's pretty clear cut. And then Chris Paul, who I think is probably going to be both of our favorite guard option on DraftKings for this slate. I think those are the kind of things where we just have to be aware that they're very chalky pieces and know that if you need to make pivots to try to pull a Kevin Huerter out of the rabbit's hat, you can do that. So let's dig into this position by position like we normally do. And by the way, yes, that Memphis starting lineup is the thing that I'm waiting on the most as well. That's why you guys need to stick around for that extra half hour. Detroit and Memphis tipping off at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be leading you guys into all of the news that pops up. But right off the bat, Golden State, they are kind of the value du jour. You have no Steph Curry. You have no Draymond Green. Who are you looking at rostering here most at the guard position with Jordan Poole pulling tons of ownership, Gary Payton II pulling tons of ownership, and Andrew Wiggins maybe not pulling as much ownership as I expected at 6,800, but of course he's definitely not a piece of quote unquote value here. How are you assessing those guys?
Yeah, I mean, and also we've got a little extra time to play with here, shorter slate, and we've got the 90-minute show. How much have you looked into the on-off court numbers for the Golden State Warriors with Draymond Green and Steph Curry off the court this year?
It's the first page that I have up here. We have Jordan Poole with a 30.8% usage rate. Andrew Wiggins, 29.9%. This is on this season alone. Jonathan Kuminga then, 23.9. It kind of falls off a cliff once you leave from Jordan Poole to Andrew Wiggins. So from just a shooting perspective, those are the two guys I'm finding myself getting to the most.
So here's the thing that's really weird. Andrew Wiggins, lots of usage when Curry and Draymond are off the court, 30.6%. The fantasy production has not really been there, though. He only scores 28.12 DraftKings points per 36 minutes when you take Steph Curry and Draymond Green off the court. And then even if you go back to last year, it was better, but it's not like he was some standout fantasy performer last year. So if you just pull up last year's numbers, which I'll do right now, you take Steph Curry, Draymond Green off the court for the Warriors last season, and you've got Andrew Wiggins, 28.5% usage rate. He did score, it was 36.35 DraftKings points per 36 minutes. So much better than what we've seen this year. But it's not like he's some guy who's all of a sudden like 1.1 or 1.2 fantasy per minute fantasy producer. So he is somebody I struggle with. I'm just kind of around the field on him because I don't know what to make of some of these numbers. The ones this year, maybe we just say it's small sample size. But how much do you read into that Wiggins has just not been that good of a fantasy producer without Curry and Draymond?
I don't read into it that much because there isn't a ton of Andrew Wiggins, going back to his time in Minnesota, I guess I'm more familiar with him because he was a disappointment for what we were expecting to get out of the Kevin Love trade back in the day. And looking at him, he's still a very solid NBA player, no doubt about it. He can get you a bucket. I just worry that there might be other parts of his accruing fantasy set. So with Draymond and Steph Curry off the floor here, I've been looking at a lot of like rebounding rates, and I just kind of expected him total rebounding rate to take a jump. He's all the way down to 8.1% with those two off the floor this season. So, or in the last year and a half. So in their entire tenure, excuse me. So I'm looking at those guys as like the other pieces of this team being a little bit more involved from an upside standpoint. But that being said, you're getting an ownership discount going to Wiggins. There's not really like studs, like quote unquote studs to go nuts on the top end outside of like a Jason Tatum, Julius Randle. So I am finding myself getting above the field on Andrew Wiggins over on both sites. So he's kind of a stand that's a little bit more pronounced. Jordan Poole, there's no denying. I think would we agree if we rank them without consideration for ownership, it would go Poole, Wiggins, Payton, or would you do it differently?
No, it is Poole, Payton, and then Wiggins for me. Okay. And a lot of it's price oriented. And it's the same for FanDuel and DraftKings. I'm playing on both sites today. Easy enough to manage on a 4-game slate and only one game at the lock time. But yeah, on both FanDuel and DraftKings, I have the most exposure to Poole, second most to Payton, third most to Wiggins. I'm overweight to Poole, overweight to Payton. Wiggins, based on his most recent ownership, I'm really close to the field on him.
Okay. So then we're not too far off. Again, I'm getting about 10, 15% over the field on Wiggins. I think I see a massive amount of upside. The other thing too, is he could absorb, like if you have lineups where you have Wiggins and you want to shy away from 50% Poole and, 30% Gary Payton the second, there's definitely some leverage to be had by rostering Wiggins instead. I'm kind of doing some groups to try to get a little bit different and have some of those builds where maybe he just is the one who goes nuts. And I think you have no problem playing them all together. Steph Curry and Draymond Green, that's a lot of production leaving the floor. But definitely Wiggins being somebody that I think might be able to sneak his way to a 45-50 burger, more likely than I would say a guy like Gary Payton at a cheaper tag. Jordan Poole, just hard for me to get away from in general. Let's go down to the rest of the position here. Chris Paul, 7,300. We both loved him the other day when he was just way, way, way too cheap. He was okay. I believe that was the Pelicans that he was playing there, 40.25. He's kind of putting up those low 40s numbers, but he played 35 minutes in that game. I think if you see this game stay remotely competitive, which they're 10-point spread here, it's tough. You've got 2 double-digit spreads here in Memphis and Phoenix, but you got to be rostering some guys. Chris Paul just feels like a can't-miss option at 7,300. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. He is one of my favorite overall, not just point guard plays, but plays on the slate in general. I am certainly concerned about the blowout risk, but I just don't know what to do with it. Because if I look at this game, I go, hey, I'm wary of rostering guys on Phoenix against the Clippers. Well, then you have to feel the same about Memphis in the game against Detroit. And then all of a sudden you've taken 50% of the players just out of consideration. So while it is a concern, it's not really anything I feel like I could do that much about. And his price is wrong. based on the production we've seen from Chris Paul this year, his role facilitating the offense. You and I, we had the same exact conversation the other day, is there's been better mesh between Devin Booker and Chris Paul this year. We've seen Chris Paul take on a massive role distributing this year. You see that in the last couple of games too, 15 and 16 assists. And where Devin Booker's been more of the primary scorer, we've seen a decreased usage from Chris Paul. So there's been an ability for both these guys to go off on the same day, which wasn't the case last year. And 7,300 on DK, it's an incorrect price. Even 7,800 on FanDuel is a little bit too cheap. But obviously the 7,300 just a misprice.
Agreed. No doubt about it. I think he's one of the best plays you can possibly get to I mean, he's like value at 7,300. It's such a weird thing to say. I'll also say it's against the Clippers. I don't really read into narratives or incentives that much. I look at the data and I basically plug and play using Awesemo's tools, the best in the business. If a caveman like me can use it and win money, then anybody can for sure. But I'm looking at Devin Booker as kind of the guy that I want to short. Sitting at 8,700. He's definitely been, if you want to call it quote unquote hot, but Chris Paul against his former team here. I still think there's a little bit of extra incentive there sitting for Chris Paul at 7,300. I think he's definitely gonna be a can't miss option here on the slate. But now we get into some dicey territory. It's a 4-game slate. We have to be taking some shots on some lower owned guards. I mean, you can play a couple lineups and maybe not, but for the most part, if you're playing 20, 40, 60 lineups, it's pretty impossible to get away from some of these pieces. Who in this mid-range of like 10 to 25% do you find yourself rostering the most at guard?
Let's see. Campaign. And a lot of this actually has to do with some of the blowout risk that you mentioned before, is what happens in the situation where the Suns end up winning this game by 20, 25 points, which is not a crazy outcome to think is possible. I think Campaign would play some extended minutes, and there's still no Landry Shamet for the Suns. And I thought we could have seen a bigger bump in playing time for Campaign without Shamet. It hasn't happened. Part of that's also just because he sucked recently. He's had games, last time out against Pelicans, he shot 2 of 7 from the field. Game against the Celtics, he shot 3 of 9 from the field and has also been turning the ball over a little bit in some of these games. So I think that there is still opportunity if this game becomes a little one-sided for Campaign to play more in the second half. And then also he's just going to play better in some of these games. He's been really inconsistent, which also is evident if you look at his box scores last few games, 31 fantasy points, 12, 31, 13. So I think that Campaign, for the potential of a blowout, is somebody worth being overweight to the field on.
Are you making any kind of a group to not have him in Chris Paul lineups, or is he cheap enough where you don't think that that's necessarily constricting it?
No, also because it's only a 4-game slate.
Right.
So I don't have it. It's not my favorite thing in the world to have the two of them together. And actually, I'll check right now really quick what percentage of my lineups have both of them. It's a really small amount. I mean, it's like 5% of my lineups have Chris Paul and Campaign. But you consider the price point on Chris Paul. It's not crazy to think he scores like 45 fantasy points in 3 quarters in a blowout win. And then Campaign is able to get to, like 25, 30 or something like that in 4th quarter and blowout run. So it's not my favorite thing in the world having them together, like I said, but because it's a 4-game slate, I think it's a little too restrictive to make a rule that I'm not going to allow them to be together at all.
All right. Let's talk about my favorite tournament play here at Guard. And I think you'll like this one. Do you know where I'm getting at with it?
Is it Dillon Brooks?
It is not Dillon Brooks. It is your boy, Eric Bledsoe. 5,800 for him over on DraftKings. I mean, again, Marcus Morris is going to be very, very popular. If I have $200 and he's in my utility, I'm finding ways to get to Eric Bledsoe in the event that those lineups are dead, or in the event that something like yesterday where I think somebody might have me blocked and I need to make some kind of a pivot. Eric Bledsoe, those minutes have been all over the place, but he's been in the starting rotation here, and they got absolutely mopped by Minnesota. They've done this now twice. Both, I believe it was the game in Toronto, again in Minnesota here. There are these times with these Clippers where they just end up getting benched for the entire 4th quarter because they're getting walloped. I think if this game stays remotely competitive, and again, it's a 10-point spread, so this is making a little bit of an assumption, but we saw the 29 minutes up against Brooklyn. He can absolutely put up a score here. Absent Paul George, yes, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, all these guys are back, and everybody seems to be healthy here outside of, Xavier Moon, who's in health and safety protocols. Brandon Boston might not play. That's definitely something to also pay attention to. I like taking shots at a 3,200 Brandon Boston, shooting guard, small forward eligible. He's in one of my 3 max contests on DK at 3,200. But how do you feel about your boy, Eric Bledsoe, as a tournament play?
So, I mean, he's fairly popular on FanDuel. He's over 20% projected ownership. DraftKings, it's funny. This is how just some of the pricing sensitivity works on a 4-game slate. So on FanDuel, like I said, fairly popular, over 20% owned. And then DraftKings, where it's only a few $100s more expensive, he's sub 10%. So as far as a tournament option goes, I do like him more on DK over than FanDuel. I don't think he's massively different across the two sites because of a $400 price difference. But what is different is just that on one site, he's picking up, 3x the ownership.
All righty. We have Jordan Klein here sending me the super chats. Best producer in the game. If you don't hit the like button for Greg or myself, at least hit it for Jordan Klein. Where is producer Cam? We need to afford this thing. That's what we're going to use these super chats for. $4.99 from the unstoppable Milo Nowhere! ! Needed all of that. By the way, that letter I still can't get over on. Go follow Greg at Ehrenberg DFS and go see this letter that he's getting back and forth with this insurance agency. I can't get over.
Oh, no, it's not an insurance agency.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to get a prescription for medical marijuana, and this is the doctor's office. And this lady just only sends me emails in all capital letters with bad grammar and punctuation.
It's so beautiful. People are great. But here we go. In a 150 lineup max, how do you determine your ownership percentage towards each player? And what's the highest you're willing to go for a player? Thank you, Greg. I'll let you take that one, and I'll just kind of piggyback off of it.
Let me just see if I could find it. Did this question come through while we were on this show, or did it come through on the, okay, here it is. All right. I found it now. Yeah. For some reason, my YouTube chat got really delayed, and then all of a sudden I just got like 40 messages came through at the same time. So now I could see it. There was also another super chat earlier that we kind of skimmed past. There was somebody giving you props, by the way.
Thanks to Eric for the Kyrie call on Yahoo. Cash $7.75. Let's go. How about that? $22 for Kyrie on Yahoo. That was a misprice. They were the only site you should have been playing Kyrie yesterday. Thank you so much to Yahoo. This is why you play multiple sites. But $7.75 is a really nice score for the Yahoo streets. Well done, Walter Colazzo. Appreciate you.
As for this super chat, how do you determine your ownership percentage towards each player? If there's a value play I really like, it doesn't happen super often, but I don't have an issue with getting 100% of a guy if I just think he's a crazy, crazy good value play for 150 max. Let's see. So I'm playing 150 lineups on FanDuel today. The player I have the most exposure to right now is Jordan Poole at around 70%. The way I do it though is I'm basically uploading my projections into Fantasy Cruncher. I'm running lineups. And if there's certain stuff where it's like, oh, I think this guy is, and I'm using the boom bust tool. If there's certain guys, I'm like, oh, look, this guy is picking up, like 50% ownership, and we have projected with a 30% chance to be optimal. Then I'm just going to manually lower that guy or set an ownership cap on him because I don't want to be, massively overweight to somebody who we have negatively leveraged. But it's not like there's some hard and fast rule in terms of how I'm setting my exposure. Maybe Alex does it more mathematically, maybe Ryan does or something like that. But for me, I'm mainly running my projections, comparing it to the boom bust tool, and then trying to figure out like, okay, I'm going to boost this guy, minimize this guy a little bit, kind of comparing my ownership to what the projected ownership is in leverage.
I think that's well said. I don't have a whole lot to add to it. I mean, everybody's got their own process. Find the process that works for you. A lot of people like to put ownership caps based on the projected ownership. I think that can make sense. You got to be very sensitive to slate. We have a 4-gamer as opposed to an 11-gamer yesterday, where I think you could have taken shots at a multitude of spots and had some unowned chalk, or sorry, that's redundant, some unowned value plays that were going to smash. Less so on this slate. You get down to, again, why do I like Brandon Boston? Because he can come out and be a flamethrower from time to time, even with Batum there, even with the other guys getting healthier. He still could come out, and if he gets hot, he's going to get extended run. Do I think that he's going to project out well? No, I don't, but he's going to be low owned. I think just mixing pieces into those lineups. I like making a group. I've been experimenting more with that, where I have like a group that I get like a low owned play or rotate in, a pool of like 10 to 15 guys that are all sub 10%, sub 15%, depending on the slate, and trying to mix them into lineups. I think that's a quicker way for me to do it on a show, that I don't have to, just rehaul everything. And then when news breaks, just being aware that group exists so you don't stop yourself from getting to some good value. But let's keep it moving here. Any other guards for you here? People are talking Andre Iguodala in the chat, and I get that play. I think he makes sense. He just went off last game, so I think people see the box score. And similar to Bismack Biyombo, who I'm excited to get your take on, which sounds weird to say because it's Bismack Biyombo, but any other guard for you, including Andre Iguodala? Are you getting to any of him?
It's weird. If you look at Iguodala's numbers this year, his per minute fantasy production has been pretty good with Draymond Green and Steph Curry off the court. In fact, in terms of players that we're actually expecting to play a decent amount of minutes today, the only guy on the Warriors that is better points per minute fantasy producer this year with Curry and Green off the court than Iguodala is Jordan Poole. Iguodala points per minute is scoring more fantasy points than Gary Payton, Otto Porter Jr., Andrew Wiggins. When you take Curry and Green off the court this year, it's only a 98-minute sample size, so I don't put too much into it, but it's enough for me to at least get exposed. And I never play Andre Iguodala, but at least for today, I think he's worth taking some shots on just because of some of that information and how shorthanded the Warriors are.
Shane Daly.
I saw that as well.
I love you people. You are sick people. But here we go. Who would win in it?
Do it part by part. So read the first part and then we'll break and then we'll read the second part of the question.
Who would win between you guys in heads up poker game?
So I personally, I never got super into poker.
I did.
Okay, so I'm going to probably say Eric then, just so I could take credit for the second part of this question.
That's what I was waiting for.
But
I knew we were going to have to split it somehow where one of us got the other one and we both wanted the second one, but you just kind of like boxed me out of it. So congratulations.
Yeah, that was the strat. I've been planning this from the start when I've been strategizing. With that said, I have been on a weird kick lately where I've just been watching old poker videos before I go to bed on my iPad. But yeah, I think we'll give you poker.
Poker? I hardly even know her.
Yeah. Oh, see, well, that transitions perfectly into part two.
Yeah. Bring in the new year with two incredible offers here at Awesemo Plus Platinum. For only $20, you can have full access. I'm talking everything we offer behind the paywall, tools and data, 22 days. 22 days of Awesemo Plus for $20 using promo code 2022. And then also, we have the year-long promotion going, Happy 22, for 20% off a full year of Awesemo Plus. So check those out. Jordan Klein flashing them up on the screen there. $20 for 22 days using promo code 2022. Easy way for you to be able to look and see that this is the best site for your money to be able to have tools and content that can help you win. The boom bust tool for the NBA pays for its weight in gold. No doubt about it. I would be lost without it when it comes to my NBA process. I suggest you try it just for that. But if that's not enough, NFL, we're going to have tons of showdown and playoff slates and things coming up in the very near future. In addition to week 18, you want to have the NFL top stacks tool for that. You want to have some of those leverage scores in the boom bust tool for NFL as well. PGA just got back this week. Way to go, Higo. Good start for my guy. Looking at the entire realm of what we have here at Awesemo, check it out using promo code 2022. And if you feel like you've tried the tools and you want to invest in your DFS game for the year for all of 2022, use Happy 22 for 20% off. Stop guessing, start winning. Go to awesemo.com/promos or follow the links in the description of this video below. Oh man. Wow. I love this show. This is fun. Let's go to the top of.
Oh, you missed the second part of the super chat.
What? Do I have to read it?
Yeah.
We already covered it.
No, we didn't.
And who would be a better lover?
Yeah. Okay. So, me, because you're better at poker. So I just win the second part by default. That's how it works. You get one, I get one. So I win the second part. If not, we could share videos and we could, make this a real competition. We could get the audience to vote on. But yeah, you're better at poker and I take part two.
I agree with everybody saying super cringe. This is super cringe right now. There's no doubt about it. Oh, Greg, you're my favorite, but also you're my boss. So I'm just saying that because of that. Here we go. Marcus Morris, 44.9% over on DK on our last run of ownership. Jaren Jackson Jr. Let's just kind of stick with this Clippers situation because Marcus Morris, there's no doubt 5,600. I don't know why his price went down 400, mainly because he had one bad game where he only played 24 minutes along with all those Clippers starters. But in the event that did you seriously just put up a poll? Jordan Klein? What is wrong with you?
No, this is actually, I think this is the most, this is the most fair way to decide. And by the way, there's no issue with this. This was a super chat that people want to know. Somebody paid their hard-earned money because they want to know the answer to this question. And if there's anything that a 99.9% all straight male audience wants to know about, it's this. This is very, very important information. And it should also be factored into our DFS play and who they take advice from.
Marcus Morris, do you like him today?
Not as much as the field does. So I understand in the context of the slate why a lot of people are getting to Marcus Morris and just the overall situation with the Clippers right now, because they are so shorthanded, and it stands to reason if they are at all competitive in this game, it's probably going to have to be on the back of Marcus Morris. And I'm a little bit underweight to the field on him on FanDuel. I mean, I'm still getting to him, just not quite as much as the field. But it's such a tough matchup against the Suns. There's a pretty good chance the Clippers don't put up a whole lot of points. If he was less popular, I'd feel different about it. But he's one of the most negatively leveraged players we have in the boom bust tool right now.
I have 30% of him. I'm fine getting to 30%. I do not want to play a super chalky Marcus Morris here. I think it's fine to get to a little bit. I mean, 6,900 over on FanDuel, not as much of a talking point, but on the DraftKings slate, definitely a guy that I want to be coming in under that 45% number. He's going to project out well. I'm not even saying that, but as you said, the boom bust tool, he's going to be one of the most negatively leveraged guys that we're looking over there. I just don't know how I'm keeping a straight face right now. But Marcus Morris, 5,600 is wrong. But what's more wrong is playing him at mega chalk in that late night hammer, unless you are absolutely live to win. So for me, I'm going to be finding paths to get onto, as I said, Eric Bledsoe. I like getting to a little bit of Terrence Mann, nothing crazy, but I'm really kind of making my stand with Eric Bledsoe, somebody that can really come out and kind of crush what that ceiling would be there for Marcus Morris. Can he still find paths to doubling, put up 35, 40 and kill me? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm willing to come in a little bit under the field. So I like hearing that you're there with me. Rest of the forward spots, we've got Jaren Jackson Jr., Cameron Johnson, Andrew Wiggins, I guess can go in that small forward bucket, Brandon Clark. Let's kind of isolate these two Memphis guys here. Which one do you prioritize more in lineups, Jaren Jackson Jr. or Brandon Clark on this slate?
Yeah, so I mean, part of this is going to come down to, and I hate to be a fence sitter with this right now, but part of it's going to come down to the starting lineup and who is in or who's out for the Memphis Grizzlies. But as of right now, I mean, there's just more upside in Jaren Jackson Jr. He's also somebody who's massively positively leveraged in the boom bust tool. He could lose out on some usage with the Grizzlies getting players back, but it doesn't change his upside. It just changes his percentage chance to reach that upside, and it changes his floor. I still want to go after that upside in tournaments, particularly, 6,100 on DK, on FanDuel. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 6,600. This is a guy who just a couple of weeks ago was, I don't know exactly what you're laughing at. I'm excited to get a response in that in a second.
I'm getting, I think Yvette is just trolling me, squealing manly moans. Is that me? What? That's just a funny thing to read out loud. Squealing manly moans. I've never seen those three words put together, but when you read it, it's hilarious. So there's that. Also, Dave called my wife hot, so that's cool. I appreciate that, Dave. My wife is pretty hot. I'm happy about that. Yeah,
and by the way, for everybody bringing up, if EMAC was in the poll, the voting would be like 90% EMAC, 5% Greg, 5% Eric. Like, give us a chance. Come on,
build it up for like 15 minutes. Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, a man who's experienced life.
I went on this half marathon.
Yeah, EMAC's been married 7 times. There's no way we can compete with that.
Yeah, there's that. It's business time. It's business time. It's business. Check that out. If you haven't seen Flight of the Conchords, you're missing out. Continue on. Jordan Klein is dead. Jordan Klein is no longer with us. He's having way too much fun today. Let's continue talking forwards here. Again, it's 4 games. We have plenty of time to get to the end of this and be able to take your questions. We're not going anywhere for half an hour. There's only one game that locks. And if you know anything about me, I like late swap. I like kind of doing all of my work after lock. So get your players in for Boston, New York, which there aren't that many for me outside of like Randle and the shots on the studs there. But continuing that forward talk, you definitely were correct in just kind of waiting for that starting lineup. We'll be able to adjust our lineups then. Don't make anything concrete here. 525 people voted on this. Then 525 of you can hit the like button. Let me just say that. If we could have that many people interested on whether or not Greg or myself are better performers in that scenario, I think that's the most roundabout, delicate way I can put that. Then you can definitely smash that like button. Josh Hart, he's very popular. We were pretty much off of him the last time. He was serviceable, 37.25 at 6,600, but that tag is definitely up there. What? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I wasn't going to say anything.
Something? Oh,
no,
cool.
I was waiting for you.
All right, I just killed all the vibes of the good show we had going, but here we go.
Josh Hart, you could, if you want to reset. If you want to reset, we got some super chats you could read there, and
let's do that. We'll reset. I picked Eric because he's married, so at least his wife knows he's chalky in bed. That's nice. We've got. I appreciate you so much. That was my guy, Sam Van Dam. Appreciate you, Jordan Lockhart, coming in with the $20. He appreciates us. I appreciate you, Jordan Lockhart. Thanks for letting me win one time. That was nicer. I didn't even win. I got second, but I'll take second again tonight. Benjamin Riley, EMAC would break the slate. You guys don't that. EMAC, that's a man who's experienced life. You name it, EMAC's done it. Like there's nothing you could search online that EMAC's not done multiple times. That man is a living legend. Can you just talk advice? Some of us got to set lineups. Yeah, we can get back to it. 23 minutes to go. Again, this is fun. We're having fun. All right, there's that. Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart. How much are you getting to of the Pelicans situation?
Yeah, I like these guys a lot. And this is a conversation you and I have had a couple of times, and it's always one that's really tricky to me, which is when there is an elite defense and they have a couple of guys that have been taken out of play. We always immediately look to who benefits from the Warriors, and I never think we think enough about who benefits from the Pelicans side of the game. And the answer is everybody, because this Warriors defense is not the same defense that we're typically used to seeing from them. The starting lineup for the Warriors tonight is Jordan Poole, Gary Payton II, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter, and Kevon Looney. It's not a terrible defensive unit. It's not Draymond Green, who's the likely front runner to win Defensive Player of the Year out there right now. It's a big downgrade in the Warriors defense. Therefore, we have to bump up some of these Pelicans guys. I love getting to Brandon Ingram, not only because it's an easier matchup than I think a lot of people realize, but if we're getting to exposure of guys like Jordan Poole, Gary Payton, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter, who we'll probably talk about in a second, I want to get some exposure to the other side of the game as well. And that's where guys like Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, they do make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Ingram over on FanDuel, 7,900, like I'm just going to play an ungodly amount there. 8,100 for him on DK. You have to at least sit there and think about it, but those minutes are trending up, and we've got him for 35.5. I think that's the perfect number here at Awesemo. If you go 31, 33, well, make it 2.5 minutes coming off of an absolute thrashing that they had by Phoenix. Didn't come in at the very end there. So Brandon Ingram could play 36, 38 minutes here in this spot, and you would really want that against a depleted Golden State team. That spread is a 1-point spread. New Orleans is now favored in that game. So like legitimately, I like getting to these Pelicans pieces, specifically him and Josh Hart. Are you doing anything? We didn't talk about him at guard, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's like the last guy. He's sub 4K. It's just weird to look at. Are you rostering him?
I am not. There's been some slates recently where I was going to say try to play him. I played him unsuccessfully in tournaments. Just
the right way to say it.
Yeah. Like there is always upside in Nickeil Alexander-Walker because you score a bunch of points in a hurry, but the minutes just haven't been there. And it's hard to think the minutes are going to come back, especially because he wasn't getting the minutes when the team was less healthy. Now that they have more bodies back, it's just hard for me to project him for enough minutes to really get him in a significant portion of lineups. Same.
Anything else that you really want to discuss? We could talk about the studs here from Boston. We could talk about anybody that you really like as a tournament play. We got to get ourselves over to center. We'll be hanging out, getting those lineups. I'm still waiting for everything from Memphis. And as soon as it drops, News God will keep us all apprised here. But what else do you want to talk about here from the forward spot? Anything else that really stands out to you?
Yeah. So we didn't really talk about him at guard. I brought up his name very briefly, and that was Dillon Brooks.
Okay.
So I think Dillon Brooks is going to play today. He's listed as questionable. He's in the health and safety protocol. He hasn't played in a few games. I think if Dillon Brooks plays, he's going to make up for lost time with shot attempts because that is what Dillon Brooks does. And the field isn't playing him. He has a reasonable price point, and I get why people aren't playing him. They're scared off of the questionable tag, but 6,200 on him on DK, 12%. Over on FanDuel, he has about the same salary. It is, 6,200. He's 18% owned. I like coming overweight to those numbers, and it's not so much that I feel like, oh, Dillon Brooks can have no issues playing big minutes, coming back out of the health and safety protocols. It's more so that we know that he has an established upside. He's a high usage guy. And just the field isn't really playing him, and his price has come down since we last saw him on the court. So I think Dillon Brooks is a really strong upside GPP play for lower ownership, with lower ownership being, relative to a 4-game slate where everybody's somewhat popular.
All right. And the last really important forward spot I think we need to talk about. Let's talk about this Suns forward spot. Cameron Johnson. Let me just say, they were ahead of their time here. The Awesemo projections, our entire team. We've got Alex Baker, of course, Steve Buzzard, Eddie Lai, all these guys. Cameron Johnson, I've been playing a lot of it. It's gone pretty darn well, even with low usage here. And he's generally known as a 3-and-D guy. He's been shooting the ball really, really well here of late. And I think still at 5,300, that's still too low of a number. But now the ownership is starting to get there. Jalen Smith, where he's power forward eligible over on DK. I think he's an important talking point. How are you handling the Suns forwards?
It's weird because they've got Bismack Biyombo in the picture, and this is just how impressed the Suns have been with Bismack Biyombo in his short stay in Phoenix. They've already guaranteed his contract for the rest of the season. Biyombo is going to be on the team. I wouldn't even be surprised if he ends up starting over Jalen Smith today.
Yeah, he's my highest owned player right now.
Oh, I'm not going that far. But I think that I think that he's worth getting exposure to. On FanDuel at 55, I can't play Bismack Biyombo at 5,500. But at 4,000 on DK, that's a good contrarian GPP play for me. As far as big men go, there's still upside in Jalen Smith as well. But I just don't know how the minutes are going to shake out there. And the field is higher on Jalen Smith and Biyombo. So I like that as a pivot.
I don't think that it's going to get announced before the lock time of that 8 p.m. Eastern time wave of games. And I think Biyombo starts here. Exactly what you said. They hate Jalen Smith. I'm shocked that Biyombo's ownership is as low as what it is. And if it's going to be all the way down there at the basement, give me 28 minutes, because that's probably the one spot where I just think that Bismack Biyombo has the path. I mean, it's not just box score looking at the last two, but Jalen Smith did get dinged up. It's hard to know for sure. But as you said, they just guaranteed his contract, and they didn't even pick up the 3rd-year extension there for Jalen Smith. For me, it's just kind of reading the tea leaves where it's like Biyombo might be a part of this rotation, backing it up going forward. Even when you get McGee, when you get Ayton and these guys back, you might see Biyombo still kind of get rotated in for 8, 10, 12 minutes. I mean, McGee has never been a guy who's gone out and played a crazy amount of minutes. He's had moments this season where he's finally gotten up there, but I see some massive minutes upside, and there's some variance to it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I am embracing some massive variance here on DK, but I'm only playing like 40 lineups over there, and I'm just taking a massive. So he's my highest owned center. I maybe misspoke. Not my highest owned player.
Okay. You just said highest owned.
Highest owned center. Yeah, you were like, Eric's a little off his rocker, feeling a little cocky after one win.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at a guy like Bismack Biyombo. I think he could be really underrepresented here on this slate. By the way, we have like 1,300 people who voted on who's the better love maker. Am I looking at this right?
Well, I'll tell you, that's certainly not one of the reasons you're cocky right now is because you're losing in that poll.
Yeah, I'm losing by 4%. I'm feeling close. A little bit. I don't know. It must be the hair. Must be. It's beautiful. Let's get to the super chats here. Go ahead.
One other thing I'll say about the Biyombo, Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith also got in foul trouble last game.
Yes.
So there's a lot of factors at play. I think ultimately they're probably just going to split minutes going forward with a lean going to whoever's playing better. If it's a Biyombo game where he goes out and he does really well in his minutes, I think he closes the game. Jalen Smith plays well. I think he closes the game. To your point before, though, the Suns didn't pick up the 3rd-year option on Jalen Smith, something that doesn't usually happen. Now, why don't you respond to some super chats?
Yeah, Arkathelza, just to piggyback on that one, I'll throw this one in first. At the end of the year, is Smith a free agent, or can he still be traded? I believe he's a free agent.
Yeah, they didn't pick up his option. He's a free agent.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. James Hay, is Cade Cunningham too highly owned on FanDuel? Currently, jumping over to the FanDuel slate, taking a look at the top end here. He is 40%. Honestly, at that number, it's probably appropriate. I'm under it. 6,800 though for a guy that's over a fantasy point per minute in his short career here so far in Detroit. If he plays 33 minutes, he's going to project out right around 33 fantasy points. Hey, look at that. I can do simple multiplication. But are you looking at getting to Cade Cunningham at 40% on FanDuel?
Yeah, that was a bid to try to get more votes talking about your multiplication prowess. I'm a little bit overweight to the field on Cade Cunningham. I look at Cade and how well he's I look at Cade and how well he's played this year as a fantasy producer. And I know that some of those games haven't been there recently, but he struggled a little bit coming back from COVID protocols. But still, the Pistons are missing some players. And I don't have too many concerns about his minutes. He played 37 2 games ago. The reason he only played 26 last game, the final score was 140 to 111. So that's more so anything else that limited the minutes of Cade Cunningham. Something else also, the Grizzlies this year, they were really good with Ja Morant out. With Ja Morant back, they're obviously, in theory, still a better team, but they're good in different ways. Mm-hmm. The Grizzlies' offense is really good with Ja Morant on the court. Their defense sucks with him on the floor. And then when he's off the court, they have a very, very good defense and a bad offense. So I think that Ja Morant being back in the picture now, and I know we have a couple games with him back now, but this is a much more favorable matchup for Cade Cunningham than some of the numbers might suggest because Morant's on the floor.
All righty. More super chats. We're going to do this. We'll talk some Yahoo. We're going to have our half hour to talk about our sponsor, Yahoo, of course, here. We've got Demetrius Johnson, any low-owned DK Iggy love. As I said before, he's super cheap over there. He's coming off of an absolute massive game by his standards at this point in his career. 3,800. Do you have any interest?
3,800. I can't find him.
I have 4%. I don't know what that does for anybody.
No, he's not. He's not somebody I'm really getting exposure to today. Just not somebody who's really on my radar.
Okay. Shane Taylor, who could pull off a stash better between you two? Knowing with great mustache comes great responsibility. With that said, what player on the slate with a mustache you like best? Man, I mustache you a question, Greg. Who is your favorite mustached player?
As for the first part, I am. I've been shaving less as of late because of a request from a lady. Going back to our poll from before,
shaving what, Greg? Greg?
But with that, I'm no good at growing facial hair, and I try really hard. I do my best, but I'm not good at it. So I'll give Eric that one. As for players, what players on the slate even have mustaches?
Oh no, I don't even want to think about it. I know Jalen Smith used to.
No. That's absolutely our highest priority right now is to try to figure this out.
Man, 12 minutes to go. Can I do a read while you continue on looking?
Yeah. I'm gonna do some research. You do a read.
Yeah, we start putting this into your model. Mustache above replacement or something. We'll throw that in. But what is most importantly that I throw in here with 12 minutes left to go is check out Yahoo, the best place you can go for your money. And why? The lowest management fees around the industry. Now, that's also known as rake. But what it comes down to is you'll also get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So 2-for-1 special. You have the best contest you can play. They've filled up their main iteration contest today. There's still a couple spots left in that $10 Thursday 10s, pays out over 33% of the field. But you get this free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. If you've never signed up and played over at Yahoo, simply sign up, deposit $10 or more, play in any of those paid contests, and boom, you're ready to go. You're ready to play. You'll get that free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum to have everything we've talked about here behind the paywall. NBA content, NFL content, MMA, golf, everything you want. If there are DFS contests for it, we have content for it. Check it out. Stop guessing, start winning. Join us at Awesemo, but do it through this promotion, Yahoo. Thank you so much to our sponsor. We are excited to be talking about them here at the end of our show. I've got my lineup in here for Yahoo today as well. Again, 3 sites while hosting a show. These are just multifaceted things, but very important that we also talk about who's the better lover between you and I, because now I'm really, really losing. I'm down 6% now. We have nearly 2,000 votes. You have to hit the like button now. There's no way around it. Smash the like button for me. I'm really feeling inadequate. Greg is just supreme. But that was the wrong sound effect to say at the end of that. I apologize.
You know who neither of us could match up to is Steven Adams, because I was trying to figure out who I think has the best mustache of anybody today. It's Steven Adams, who, I mean, also if he was on the poll, I mean, like it would be close between him and Emac, I think. But I might even have to give that one to Steven Adams. I think everything we've talked about today, Steven Adams fills all of the check marks, other than being somebody I want to roster in DFS today.
I didn't know where you were going with that one. Let's go to the center spot here. Jonas Valanciunas, $30 on the Yahoo slate. I think that's an absolute smash. I was looking at trying to make a guy like Isaiah Stewart a thing, and I think you can embrace some volatility there with him. I don't ever know what these minutes are going to look like right out of the gate. There's definitely a wide range of outcomes. At Awesemo, we've got Isaiah Stewart for 24.75. That doesn't get him in a ton of lineups, but I'm getting to him a little bit here on this slate. But who are some of the centers that you find yourself rostering the most?
Valanciunas, I think, is the most obvious one for the same reasons we were talking about before when we were talking about Brandon Ingram, and I mentioned Valanciunas' name in that part as well. This is a shorthanded Warriors team, and he doesn't have to deal with Draymond Green. That's a big benefit to him. And then I also just like the correlation that I'm getting between Valanciunas and some of the players on the Warriors that I'm already getting a lot of exposure to. So particularly on FanDuel, where he's only 7,900, I really like getting to Valanciunas. A little bit less desirable on DK, but still, I think Valanciunas is one of the top app options today.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you. I like Valanciunas a lot. I obviously love Bismack Biyombo, but that's more of a tournament stance. If he's not starting, maybe there are things I have to do. And again, Smith is. I'm saying it's more than 50% that I think that Jalen Smith starts here in this spot. But if you get the Biyombo play and you get him at 4K, there's guys you can get to on the Clipper side that are kind of in that ballpark. Nicholas Batum 4,200, Justice Winslow 4,100, things like that. You can kind of mix and match a little bit, but tougher for everybody to kind of land on that play after the fact. So I am going to try to make that one of my late swap du jours here for the evening. If he doesn't start, I'm still going to have him quite a bit. Just not as much as, the assumption or just the random guess, should I say. I don't want to say there's anything that I'm saying that's monumental, but as you said, contract getting picked up, I think that is a very good sign for him possibly being more of a part of this rotation going forward. And for sure, while Ayton and McGee are out. I don't really have anything else to add here at center. We can take some questions here. I'm just appalled by over 2,000 of you who just love Greg and think I don't perform. So but
cool. you've kind of you've misphrased the way this works. It's about 50-50. It's not there's 2,000 people that are against you. It's 1,000 and like 100.
Yeah. Or the other way of looking at this is we're both awesome and you're just a little awesomer.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's not how the audience is looking at this at all. Cool. Actually, I think they're rather appalled as they're filling out the poll and they're like, oh, whatever. I guess this is how
T-Bitty 32 DFS just said, I chose you, Eric. LOL. Oh, thank you. That's cool. I like that. That's nice. 7 minutes to go. Everybody get your lineups in. Muy importante. We need you all to do that right now. So you don't have a Paul George situation. It's amazing how many people, like in the same breath that they compliment me on yesterday, they're just like, hey, remember when you cried when Paul George got scratched? It's like, why are we bringing that up? What did I do? Can the lover winner? Oh, so Shane Daly again. Can the lover winner know the winner of the stash? Oh, can the lover winner be the winner of the stash? I can't read. I don't know what that is. I think they're trashed, and that's fantastic.
So here's something else also that I think that we should be taking into account. The super chats that we've gotten have all said they're voting for Eric. So it appears that if Eric is looking for a sugar daddy, he's maybe a little more qualified for that. The people with money are a little more vocal if they went with Eric, which, that's something else that should be considered here, is that Eric is bringing a higher stock clientele.
Wow, Jordan Klein. I don't know. Greg kind of has a little bit of a who's the lead singer of Queen? Oh, am I blanking on his name? Freddie Mercury. Like, you have a little Freddie Mercury vibe with the stash. I think I vote for you simply because I see some Freddie Mercury, and that's hot, man. That's flat out hot.
All right, so I think Eric's voting for me, but for very unforeseen reasons. This is going to be an uncomfortable after lock session when you, myself, and Jordan all hang out and watch games together, and make fun of each other, and are like, hey, look at what's going on with Dylan Brooks. You're tilting and you're just asking me to take my clothes off. I'm like, whoa, Eric, we just did that training the other day. I think I don't like where this is going.
I don't like it either. You know what? Let's get our lineups, and I'm going to do the same here. If you guys have any questions, fire them here in the chat. That would be lovely. Ron Jeremy? Do I look like Ron Jeremy? Is that what everybody's giving me? Maybe because you gave me like the spaghetti one. It's like a little bit longer on the side. You gave Greg the cool one that made him look better. You gave me the shitty, trashy one. You know what? I'm over this shit. You know what? You can answer questions. I'm going to get my lineups in. I'm so
all right. We've got a super chat from Short Gamer TV. Good luck, guys, and congrats on the win yesterday, Eric. But unfortunately, he's losing the thing that's more important right now.
It's true.
Let's see. Are there any?
Can I trade it in? Can I trade in all the money for people that think I'm cute and funny? No? Okay.
Yeah, to me, I think I'm winning the better tournament of the two of us. That's everything that we have in terms of super chats. I'll go to the Discord channel. If anybody has any questions, at Eric and I in Discord, and I'll be answering some of those right now. From Rabashua, which player, if you could know with 100% certainty what their score would be, who would you want to know tonight? I like that.
That's a great question. Why have we never had a question? That is like next level intellect question.
Yeah. He's taking my gig as director of content. He's directing the shows now.
I'm going to say, this goes one of two ways, because I think because he's cheaper, even though I have more of this guy, I want to know what Jalen Smith did.
It's Andrew Wiggins for me. Because those numbers for Wiggins are so bizarre this year with Curry and Draymond Green off the court that it made it so difficult for me to project him. Andrew Wiggins scores 28 fantasy points per 36 minutes with Draymond and Steph Curry off the court. It kind of defies logic in what we would think of Andrew Wiggins in this situation. So I think there's a really wide range of outcomes. I said before, when it comes to Wiggins, I just kind of align myself with the field on him and being like, hey, he's not going to make me. He's not going to break me today. My lineups are going to kind of be decided elsewhere. But yeah, he's the one to me that I just really, really don't know what to do with.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good call too. But, for me, it's like if Jalen Smith fails, I just kind of assume that I get the Bismack Biyombo game, whereas I think Biyombo could get to like 26, and I wouldn't necessarily know how many minutes Jalen Smith got. So I was kind of thinking more specifically for that late night hammer. I think I'm just going to be rostering a bunch of these Golden State guys. I don't really see any way around it. A lot of people asked about Bjelica. I don't know if you really touched on him. How much Bjelica do you have today?
Let's see. Bjelica. Like almost none.
Yeah, I get where you're going at with it. I have one share of him in like the $15 over in DK. That's about it. I don't really know what else. I don't know what to do with him. I think, my brain goes back to that first game of the year and he just absolutely smashed. And I don't know if it's just that I remember that game so vividly where, everybody was kind of depleted there and he played really, really well. But I can't really do it here on this slate. So I'm with you. I'm not going to be rostering him. So best of luck to you if you want to try to make him a thing. The picture of me looks like Robin Williams in the movie Birdcage. I will take that. Birdcage. It's ironic too. I think Robin Williams, his character was gay in that one. And I've heard a lot of gay porn star. I'll take that. Again, you love who you love. There's really no way around it. Batum going to be a slate breaker. Do you see Batum being a guy, Craig, that you're going to get to on this slate?
I wouldn't call him a slate breaker. So something else to consider with Nick Batum. So the Clippers situation as a whole, the team is pretty shorthanded. Nick Batum was originally listed as questionable play. He's now in. I don't know that means he gets a full allotment of minutes, though. Nick Batum has not played since December 26th. So I think he's going to play with somewhat of a minutes restriction. I think that really caps his upside. I don't see him as a slate breaker.
Agreed. Shane Daly, once again, my bad. Can the poll winner not win the stash one? Well, no, Greg won both. Greg wins the day. I award myself no points and may God have mercy on my soul. Tat it up. Welcome to Team Awesemo. We are so glad to have you guys. Again, we're here at Lock. We've got 1 minute. Get your lineups in. There's no way around it. When you hear this, you should have your lineups in already. We're not going anywhere. We're talking Yahoo here for another half hour. Excited to be talking their product because it is the true, we both believe it. And I mean, it's the lowest management fees. They have player-friendly contests all the time. Best in the industry, no doubt about it. So check it out. Everybody thinks I look like the guy from Narcos. So there's that. That's another interesting one. Bitch smack Biyombo. That's kind of an interesting way of phrasing that. That's not showing up in the chat here. That's probably a good thing here. 48, 4 for 16 with 3 rebounds and 2 assists with a lot of flame emojis. That's just funny to read. No? Okay. Greg's not.
No, I'm trying to get the game up on my second screen here, and very disappointing. It's the Celtics Knicks game, which is the game I probably have the least amount of interest in today.
Yeah. Porter or Morris, one lineup.
I mean, for cash, it has to be Morris still. For tournaments, it's still going to be Morris for me, though, even if I'm underweight to him.
Yep, I'm a little underweight to him. Otto Porter, I'm about at the field, 5,500. I think he's okay. I probably don't hate him as much as what you do. He's just kind of an indifferent play for me. I'm a little bit over. I know our projections, and again, 30 minutes for him, he's going to look really, really nice nearly a fantasy point per minute guy. And we've seen in Chicago, he has massive upside in any spot where he can be the guy to just go out and chuck. So Otto Porter, I probably like a little bit more than you do, Greg. We are locked. Oh yeah, let's ride. Midwest Mike J. Who is that? Do they need to CNN in chat? I have no idea. Greg can't quack like you, Eric. No, he definitely most certainly cannot. There's no doubt about that one.
Oh, there's that is another area that Eric has experienced and that I don't. That is something that is something else to take into account.
I really don't like where this is going. Let's talk some Yahoo.
You brought it up, not me.
I know I did. It's okay. Do we have that starting lineup here from Memphis, by the way? Dylan Brooks, it said will start, but I didn't see the lineup accompanying. Oh, asking you shall receive. What in the bloody hell? Really? Zaire Williams starting. That feels like the more pertinent information to know. Morant, Brooks, Zaire Williams, Jackson Jr., Adams. That is not something that I was prepared for. I love overreacting things, but again, this is worthy of an overreaction. They're 13-point favorites here. Brandon Clark was somebody that was projecting out really, really nicely there. Dylan Brooks was somebody that now is nice to get that confirmation that he's in. I know that was somebody that you were thinking is going to make up for some lost time, go out and chuck. What are you thinking about this starting lineup? Because I don't even know how to start to comprehend the Zaire Williams starting thing.
So I think we have to look at it from this perspective. We've seen the Grizzlies kind of make a fifth starter spot. Has been a revolving door. And generally that guy who's the weird player that enters the lineup does not play a lot of minutes. So for instance, Killian Tilly starts last game, and Killian Tilly finishes with a line of 5 points in 3 rounds, only played 16 minutes in a start. The game before against the Nets, Tilly played 16 minutes. We've also seen that earlier in the year with who was the other guy? Oh, was it Aldama that was starting for them earlier in the year? I'm trying to remember.
They had
no.
I mean, Kyle Anderson went to the bench. They had for the most part. Let me just go through popcorn machine's going to take too long. Let me just go through some cruncher. Kyle Anderson only has started like 4 games this season, or 5 games this season. Obviously he's not doing anything today, so do not roster him. Zaire Williams, they had
Williams I was just checking. Williams has not made any other starts this year. I was trying to see if there was any.
Well, they had Bane and Melton starting alongside Ja Morant, and then it would be Jaren Jackson Jr. Adams. So that was like your main 5. And then you would have Kyle Anderson kind of first guy off the bench. That's what I'm seeing here. Brandon Clark mixing in here as well. Earlier in the season, he was playing really kind of low mid-teens minutes here. Those have obviously been up of late here with no Tillman, no Kyle Anderson. So Brandon Clark, I still think coming off the bench, he's just fine. It's not like he's been starting any of these games whatsoever. But first of all, no Aldama. You probably shouldn't have been getting there anyway. Killian Tilly, he started the last 2 16 and 17 minutes. My thing is that as a rookie, there is an opportunity that these minutes just go up drastically from the 14 he played 2 nights ago. If he gets to like 20, 22 minutes or something, he's the flat min 3K over on DK. I might get to a little bit there. FanDuel, I think he's less necessary, but you still might get a smattering of him. It just really comes down to what you project those minutes to be.
Yeah, and looking at him so far this year, let's see, what is his fantasy production? Not
Terrible.
good. It's not good. Here's the issue with him. So he's like a 0.5 fantasy point per minute guy.
Yep.
You give Zaire Williams 30 minutes, you get like 17 fantasy points.
True.
And I don't think he plays 30 minutes. I think he plays the Tilly role.
But has he played enough minutes as a rookie? I mean, we saw this with Herbert Jones as well. And I know everybody wanted to know Herbert Jones' take. Herbert Jones is around a 0.72 fantasy points per minute rate. That's nearly 0.2 better than what we're seeing out of Zaire Williams. But major difference for me, again, flat 3K. He can run into some steals, some other things. If he's just on the floor for enough minutes, there's some major volatility with some rookies that kind of play themselves into a different role later on. But again, I don't even know how to process this. I'm gearing towards steering away, but there has been some massive usage games here where he's played considerable minutes. I mean, 22% usage in his 14 minutes last time out here. I'm just going to skip over that 3-minute game. There's like low teens for most of them, but he's had some spiked minute games, like 24 against Denver, 18.3% usage. It's a fascinating thing. If he wasn't 3K, I wouldn't care. On Yahoo, do not play Zaire Williams. That's just wasting a roster spot.
If you were playing 150 lineups, told me, hey, I have 5% Zaire runs, I wouldn't have an issue with that. But if you're saying like, oh, I'm playing one lineup, I need to get Williams, and I think that's a mistake. And still somebody I don't have that much interest in. How many games do you think he's had over 20 DraftKings points in this season?
Probably 1.
0.
Oh, there you go. So he had exactly 20 and 1.
And and the Grizzlies, some of their starting lineups are so weird. Like I'm looking at Killian Tilly's numbers when he started. And like I said, he didn't play very many minutes. He played 16 minutes in each of his 2 starts. The 2 games prior to him starting, he played 24 and 20 minutes. The 2 games before, they played 19 minutes and 27 minutes. So they went from playing Killy low to mid 20s minutes to 16 minutes when they moved him from the bench to the starting role. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense here.
All right. I'm probably with you here. It's just been one of those things where we've had a lot of 3K guards kind of like randomly show up, and none of them have been particularly great fantasy point per minute guys, but most of those guys were playing 35 minutes, whether it's the Sykes or Washingtons or whomever else we've been playing here at Mins of late. We've had a lot of them. So he's terrible from a fantasy point per minute perspective. We just got word D'Anthony Melton is available to play too. That makes it just like completely write him off. Desmond Bane and Kyle Anderson confirmed out, but D'Anthony Melton available to play. That makes it easier for me to kind of hit a check on a lot of these guys. That's not a piece that I was expecting to get ruled in. Were you?
Yeah, when we talked about at the top, we had Brooks and Melton both cleared the health and safety protocols a few games ago.
I had them projected for 0. So
yeah, so they both cleared health and safety protocols a couple of days ago. They just weren't fit to play yet. So I viewed it very similarly to the D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns situation from last night. It's like, okay, these guys, it's not like they got cleared earlier in the day. They've been cleared. It's just a conditioning issue. And generally we see some of these guys who, when they have the conditioning issues, they've been getting ruled out the first game or two, and then they end up getting inserted back into the lineup. So I think we see Melton play his normal role, 26 minutes or so coming off the bench. What he really does is he just totally neuters everything that went on with Tyus Jones over the last week and a half.
There are some weird things. Thank God for the YouTube filter. That's all I could say. Whew. Let's talk some Yahoo, shall we? The guard position over there. I love talking Yahoo on the NBA Slate Starter podcast. I do it every single night with Ryan. We're burning the midnight oil. He's for sure burning the midnight oil out there on the East Coast in Michigan. So appreciate him always staying up, giving you guys the perspective of a top 10 player in the world. Top 10 player in the world every single day for free on the interwebs. Check that out. Go follow us at the Slate Starter podcast while you're at it. But looking at the guard position, we talked about it last night. John Morant at $40, 20% of your cap, but he still feels like a guy that can be worth it. Just harder to get to when you consider you got Devin Booker at 34, Brandon Ingram 33, Chris Paul 33, Cade Cunningham 29, garnering quite a bit of attention. And most importantly, Jordan Poole at $20. What would you be looking to do at the guard position here on Yahoo today, Greg?
Yeah, so getting right back to Dillon Brooks, I liked him as a tournament play on DraftKings and FanDuel, and the same is going to go for Yahoo, where he's $24, small forward eligibility. So play him a small forward, play him a forward, play him a utility spot. I think this is a really good spot for Dillon Brooks, and I think he's going to make up for some lost time by chucking shots when he gets up, which I kind of say tongue in cheek because it's just all he does. He doesn't know any way other than to shoot a lot of shots. Earlier in the season when John Morant was healthy and Dillon Brooks were both healthy, when Brooks was making his debut, I forget, he missed the first couple weeks of the season with the broken hand or something like that. Dillon Brooks led the Grizzlies in usage. He was taking more shots than John Morant was, and that could very well be the case going forward as well. So I think Brooks is getting slept on everywhere, especially now that he's confirmed in the starting lineup.
You know why I like him, Greg? Quack, quack.
Oh, is he a Duckman?
Sure is.
I wasn't aware.
Quack, quack.
That is a lot of reason for. I mean, I know Eric loves his Ducks for sure. Actually, do we have an updated ownership on
I don't know. I'm just realizing that I get paid to get made fun of. Like that's like what I do for a living.
It's a good gig. What's wrong with being court jester?
The court
we
jester.
Do have an ownership.
It's literally, I was just thinking court jester. We were thinking that was a little mind meld action. I'm looking at the refreshed ownership here. I want to get the boom bust tool back in action here too, which I just lost in the last update here. I just want to know what we end up projecting for some of these minutes for Memphis guys as everybody's getting ruled in. D'Anthony Melton was, he's projected in now. There we go. Love that. Desmond Bane out, continuing that. Let's see. Dylan Brooks, 32 and a half minutes. I think I'm going to get to a little bit over at 6,200 on DK. Over on FanDuel, going to be something that I definitely want to roster as well. 6,200 for him there. 25% ownership, it looks like, in our last run. That's kind of fascinating. And over on Yahoo, Dylan Brooks. Once again, this is the best part about doing these shows, is being able to have after the slate locks, have analysis later. $24, less of a priority, but 18%, I could probably get to a little bit. If I'm making 3, 4, 5 lineups, I'm probably not going to, but in the allotment at 20, I'll have 1 or 2 for sure.
Even if I was playing, even if I was only playing 1 or 2 lineups, I would probably still be playing Dylan Brooks. I think he's in my single entry lineup today. My highest projected lineup on FanDuel and DraftKings has Dylan Brooks.
All right. Well, I give him a little boost. It's always worked well when there's a guy that I'm not on that I can kind of see the case for. And you've laid out a pretty good case, and quack, quack. So there we go. Let's do rest of the guard position. It is so hard to get away from Jordan Poole there. People were asking me there about Alec Burks. I had no interest in legitimately anybody on the Knicks whatsoever outside of Julius Randle. So if that burns me, it burns me. I legitimately don't think I have a single share of anybody outside of him. Let me look just to make sure. Oh, I have 2.5% Alec Burks. Okay. So there you go, over on DK. That is what it is. I don't care. Over on Yahoo here, $18 for him. I wasn't going to get to that. But Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, $18 and $17 respectively. Those would be some interesting pivots off the likes of, your aforementioned Jordan Poole at $20 and then $13 Gary Payton. But man, are they not going to project out well compared to those guys. Is there any kind of a tournament pivot off of those Golden State guys you would be looking at?
Let me look at the lower priced. D'Anthony Melton's only $18. I mean, you can get to him on Yahoo, but I can't really call them direct pivots. The priorities are still very much Jordan Poole and Gary Payton. I think Melton's likely to not be very popular, especially considering how late this news came out, but there's still upside in Melton. I don't know exactly what his minutes are going to look like because they're very volatile and all over the place, even in normal situations. I don't mind that as much for tournament options, though, and once again, fairly cheap.
Yep, I'm with you. Just fine with that. Let's keep it going. Let's go to the forward spot here over on Yahoo. By the way, 12-6, it looks like here in the early goings of the Boston, New York game. 5 minutes into that one, that was always kind of the ugly duckling, if you will, on this slate. For sure, not the duck. It was, we're talking Dylan Brooks. We're waiting for the actual duck, not the ugly duckling. Forward spot here on Yahoo. Top end, we've got Jason Tatum, Julius Randle. They're already locked. So you run into Sadiq Bey being the most expensive guy, $29, who's still available on the board. Josh Hart, 27. That is a massive tag. I find that impossible to get to. Marcus Morris, it looks like getting a little bit of traction, but Otto Porter looks like he'll end up being pretty darn chalky, as will Terrence Mann. Some of these other guys seem like intriguing options. Who are your favorites at forward on Yahoo, Greg?
We also got a super chat here where somebody asked, it's the losers win again. Would you pivot to Brooks over Hart on DK? Yes, I prefer Dylan Brooks. Like, not even considering ownership, just projection. I prefer Brooks to Hart.
Interesting. I'm probably on the other side of it in terms of raw projection, but you're definitely getting an ownership discount going to Brooks. I think that makes a little bit of sense to do that. 25% for him there. Let's take a look here at Josh Hart over on, it's on DK. So let me get out of Yahoo here quick. On DK, I'm looking at these spots. We've got New Orleans, Josh Hart. I've got 34.5. I mean, that's a big number. It's a little bit higher. 33, it looks like right around that for Awesemo. So not too big of a discernible difference here. And then Dylan Brooks sitting at 29 at Awesemo. I've got him for 30 now, and I'm getting to around 20% of him just over the field on DK. Probably going to more Dylan Brooks just to the ownership discount. So I'll go along with you in a different path. But forward spots over on Yahoo, give me your favorites.
All right. So now looking over at Yahoo as far as the forward spot goes, here's somebody that I didn't really think made as much sense on sites like FanDuel and DK, but Sadiq Bey at $29 on Yahoo. That to me is a somewhat interesting play of power forward. The power forward pool sucks on Yahoo today. Have you looked at the power forward options?
Oh, it's the most egregious ensemble of humans ever put together by mankind.
So the issue is with no Draymond Green there and just different position eligibilities. So there's Julius Randle at $36. We played him. That game already locked. There's no issue there. Saddiq Bey, I look at as a pretty good option at $29. Al Horford, that game's already locked. I didn't think he was a great option at $28 with the Celtics getting healthy. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great option at $26, but then the pickings just get really slim. So Saddiq Bey, the reason he stands out on Yahoo more than other sites is just because I don't have other guys to play here, and he's in a price range all by himself. It's either him or Jaren Jackson Jr. once you're in that mid to upper $20 range. And I like both of those guys more than Al Horford. So it's Saddiq Bey kind of by default.
I'm with you guys. And again, we're looking at paying out 33.3% of the field on these Yahoo tournaments. So you're getting more bang for your buck in some of these spots where you can find some min cashes a little bit differently. Just their prize pool structure is just so much better. Even looking at this last iteration, the Thursday 10s, $5,000 prize pool, $10 to get in there, $300 up top, but then minimum payout $15, pays out top 190. So again, one third of the field getting paid out. You can just make your money go a lot further over on Yahoo. Lowest management fees. I said that before, 12% management fee. And that's for like the second iteration of their main tournament. You can find tournaments that are around 11% on NFL Sunday, negative 25% management fee in their 200K overlay contest, the Sunday Baller. You need to be playing in that. They're running stuff. I bet they run something for the playoffs too. They're constantly running these like $1 contests with 100K up top. We're talking some of the most ridiculous stuff. So dip behind the paywall there at Awesemo by using promo code Awesemo, heading over to Yahoo as a new user, depositing $10 more. Do all of that. Really sticks out as the best way to kind of join us here at Awesemo. Greg, anything else for you here at the forward spot on Yahoo before we head to center?
So moving back over to the small forwards, it's just the same thing we mentioned about Dylan Brooks, like him a whole bunch on pretty much every site at this point. Andrew Wiggins is $23. That's a fairly cheap price point with all those guys out. I mentioned about the mass amount of uncertainty, what we're going to see production-wise for Andrew Wiggins. It doesn't really matter to me when he's $23 over at Yahoo. Other guys, like I'm not really playing any of the Andre Iguodala, Jason Tatum, that game's already locked. I don't really think he was a great guy to pay up for. What are you doing with Marcus Morris, where he's $23 at small forward? And there just are not very many forward options to choose from on Yahoo.
Yeah, I think you play him. I think you play Jordan Poole, and then you get different in some of your other spots. Obviously, Jonas Valanciunas, $30 is like such a priority over on Yahoo. If you're playing multiple sites, and you should be, you have the opportunity to get exposure. Like on DK, I find JVal almost impossible to get to on that slate. I think he's super easy and attainable at $30 over on Yahoo, and I think he's appropriately one of the more popular plays, the most popular play at 36% on that slate. I think kind of combining those threes and finding, whether it's Dylan Brooks, whether it's, a pivot to Terrence Mann sitting there, 13.4% for him, a rostership on Yahoo. There's a number of other ways that I would want to get different that I am happy eating the chalk in those kind of spots. Marcus Morris just kind of blows the position away, especially if Julius Randle is going to put up an absolute dud. I think taking that security right now is probably the right way to go.
Yeah, it's a little early to say Julius Randle is going to put up a dud.
I just said in the event that he does. It's a late night hammer game. You'll know Julius Randle's box score by the time that Clippers game starts.
Yeah, well, it looks like Evan Fournier a little banged up right now. What's going on here? Well, are they going to timeout now? I saw Fournier staying in, so whatever, no real big issue there. Talking about the center position, play Jonas Valanciunas. I think he's a really strong play on Yahoo today, $30. Once again, that matchup against the Golden State Warriors. Warriors are shorthanded, easier matchup than it would appear to be just looking at the data going up against the Warriors. I love getting to Valanciunas at $30 on Yahoo.
Yeah, he's an absolute smash. He's the priority play at center for me over there. And again, multiple sites gives you opportunity to get to multiple pieces. Check that out for sure. I think that he's the premier play at center. I think getting to Biyombo or somebody like that in that late night hammer, I think that becomes very, very difficult. $13. I would much rather just play JVal there at $30. The cap isn't too constrictive. There aren't the LeBron Jameses and the massive studs to really be paying up for. John Morant at $40. Your most expensive guy left on the board here in the afternoon game. So if you faded this Boston, New York game and you're looking at these three games later coming up here, John Morant at $40 is very, very easy to fit into lineups. Devin Booker and Chris Paul, we know kind of the expressed upside there. Do you have a preference between Booker and Chris Paul, just $1 apart, but at different positions, Greg?
So here's where it's really different about Booker and Paul on Yahoo compared to DraftKings and FanDuel. When we're talking about these guys on DK and FanDuel, Booker is way more expensive. That's not the case on Yahoo. So considering what the pricing is, I still have Booker projected higher. It's just, on DraftKings, what was the salary difference between them? It was Chris Paul at 7,300 and Devin Booker at 8,700. That's way different than the $1 price difference. So on Yahoo, I do get to Booker more often.
Evan Fournier, 12 points, 2 rebounds already here. I have 0% on both sites, so that's enjoyable. We'll see if that ends up being something you actually need or not. I'm very highly doubting it. Super chat, I've got a couple of them here. Clownin 01, with the lineup changes, does it hurt Clark? Should I pivot? And to who on DK? I don't think it affects Clark whatsoever. I haven't changed anything with his minutes. Have you, Greg?
No, and it's going to be the same thing. We're going to get Clark is not somebody who plays a massive amount of minutes.
No.
So it's not a situation where we're looking at Brandon Clark and be like, oh no, he can't play 30. He wasn't playing 30 anyway. The last few games where he's had good fantasy games, he played 23, 25, and 25 minutes. He's still going to play 24, 25 minutes. It doesn't change anything. His minutes upside is a little bit capped, but he's cheap. He's a good points per minute fantasy producer. There's not a massive amount of value in the front court on the slate. So he's still somebody worth getting to. I wouldn't be changing off him.
All right. We got Jay Lopez, my dude, Eric, Ja or J Val, depending on the site. We're talking Yahoo here right now. There's a $10 chasm between them. It's going to be Jonas Valanciunas, but on DK, where they're nearly the same price, which is what I'm assuming you're talking about. I do like John Morant way more. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, it's Morant for me, especially because this seems like just a 1v1 where he's playing somebody in a utility spot, which is either going to be Yahoo or DraftKings, and that's Morant for me. There's, as much as I like Valanciunas on Yahoo, he's $30, and I still look, if you're just looking at them projection for projection, Morant's the answer.
All righty, cool. That's going to kind of cover most of this stuff that we're talking about with Yahoo. Of course, take advantage of that promo that we were talking about. This is the best site you should be playing on for your bankroll. It's the best place to build it, best place to go make some serious money. I repeat, NFL Sunday, it's a joke if you don't jump in that, as well as some NHL contests. I'm going to see, I think there's a slate starting up at 8:30 p.m. here on the East Coast. That's 5:30 out here. I think I might dip my toes in the NHL streets. Jay Kari's been talking about Yahoo quite a bit and definitely likes playing over there. I think I'm going to have to try that out for sure tonight. Looks like there's a 25-cent contest you can get in over there. There's some $25 single entry stuff. I really do enjoy some of the single entry small field stuff over on Yahoo as well. Check those things out. I'm telling you, it's just a great site. Lowest management fees. That is rake. That is the kind of stuff that over a long term, over any kind of a long lifespan of you playing DFS, you're going to save more money. You're going to make more money with lower rake, no doubt about it. Combine that with the tools here at Awesemo, with that one free month you get by signing up, depositing $10 or more, playing in any paid contest. Anything else you want to add to Greg here before we kind of make our attention to paying attention to our lineups leading up to this 8 p.m. Eastern time lock for 2 games?
Looking through my lineups, not really. I do have one question for you. Is there anybody that you're playing on Yahoo due to salary or for whatever other reason, they're getting to a decent clip of Yahoo that you're not on FanDuel or DraftKings?
Jonas Valanciunas on Yahoo as opposed to DK. I'm getting to a lot of him on FanDuel. So there's really no way around a sub 8K price tag for Jonas Valanciunas. I have 40% of him on the FanDuel slate. That's a little bit more than the 30% we're projecting him for at $30 on Yahoo. I just like it so much more. They have true positions there. It's not like DK or FanDuel where you have multi-positional eligibility. On on Yahoo, you're looking at the position not changing. I think that makes him, amongst all of those other centers, just such a clear-cut smash compared to them. That's the most pronounced difference I have. How about you?
I like Marcus Morris more on Yahoo than I do on FanDuel or DraftKings. Valanciunas is a big one. I think he's the clear-cut top center option on Yahoo. Also, something that's different about Yahoo is with the lack of multi-position eligibility, it just kind of brings you on totally different lineup builds. So for Jaren Jackson Jr., for instance, he is power forward and center eligibility on both FanDuel and DK. You don't have that option on Yahoo, so I have to find other guys to play where I really like the upside of Triple J today. And that is one of the other things that gets me to more Valanciunas on Yahoo is I don't have the ability to play Jaren Jackson Jr. at center. So that's one good thing about playing on multiple sites and how it just kind of differentiates your portfolio and what you have exposure to.
All right, everybody, get your lineups updated. Update those lineups here. By the way, I got to 0 Zaire Williams, so I was just overreacting for the sense of overreacting, I suppose. That's probably the right way of saying it. It made for good television, whatever. It is what it is. We have covered a lot in 85 minutes here on this show. We've assessed some things I never imagined assessing on an Awesemo show in my entire life. But you know what? You're the boss. You call the shots. I just simply
Were you really
follow.
that surprised that people were curious which of us could win a heads-up poker game?
No, Greg. I was not that worried about that one.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was pretty caught off guard by that. I wasn't expecting that question today.
Oh, I definitely, I enjoy I grew up in that age where you sat in the basement and you just like played a bunch of online poker with your buddies and you would just like sweat the poker stars. You just had absolute tilt. I remember signing up and playing most of college. And then you had the Black Friday hit. I guess that would have been closer to like my freshman year, maybe my sophomore year of college. And man, online poker those were the days. I really, really loved that. So that was kind of my gateway into sports betting, into all the other things that I so much love talking about here nowadays. But man, you've never like played any considerable poker in your life, Greg?
I mean, I played poker, but not. I've won. I did win a tournament at a casino in Florida, and I play like if I go to casinos, I'll play cash poker games, but I haven't played in a really, really long time now.
You sandbagging son of a b! All you want to do is I'm
trying to bait you into. Well, number one also is just going back to the thing. I just wanted to give you the first one, so I'd get the second part of that question from the super chat before. But that also is I really have not played. I can't remember the last time I played poker. It was probably 5 years ago at this point, maybe even longer.
All right, we need to rectify that wrong. Maybe when we have our Awesemo meetup, maybe it's the summer, maybe it's the fall. I don't know when it is, but I know we're going to be seeing each other sooner rather than later, right, Jordan Klein? Yeah. We need to all
the other
hang
thing
out.
too is we could go to Vegas and we could settle all aspects of that super chat on a Vegas trip. And then
one night only, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
One night only, no rules.
Yeah,
quack,
we'll vlog
quack.
it. Yeah, live stream. Yeah.
Yeah, just you're gonna be the guy who orders the duck. I already know it, but that I don't know where to go with that.
This is actually not a bad idea. Somebody in chat had said we need an Awesemo poker tournament. We could do a poker tournament, just live stream it for especially during baseball season. If there's going to be no baseball this year and we have a void to fill, who knows? Who knows what we could do?
I was thinking we could do a fundraiser at some point too. I think that would be a fun way to do it. There's got to be a charity that we can go outreach for. No, screw that. I'm just trying to think of doing charitable
kids. They could take care of themselves, Eric.
Jordan Klein had to chime in vocally. Oh man, I'm just saying that I think it would be a nice touch, but whatever. Everybody smash that like button, please. This was outrageous content today. There's no other way to say it. Had an absolute blast. I think we gave some good information along the way. Let's see. Give me a live update on that game right now.
All right. So in terms of what we have going on right now, the Celtics are up 25-18 on the Knicks. I think like 100% of the Knicks fantasy points were scored by Evan Fournier in that first quarter. He had 12 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. So the Knicks starters scored 14 points as a group, and Evan Fournier scored 12 of them.
Tilt. I have 0%, like legitimately 0 on any site, period. So
check.
Yeah, just saying. I think what I saw somebody in chat said 4%. I don't know what contest that is. That sounds about appropriate on a 4-gamer, but regardless, that's one of those things where if he ends up erupting for a 40, 50, 60 spot, yeah, you got to get the other spots right. But in the larger the field is in that kind of a scenario, the more likely it is that you need to make some massive pivots. I'd probably sacrifice Marcus Morris at the altar of ownership. I'd probably be looking at getting some ways of getting very, very different, trying to salvage a night. But anything you'd want to say about late swap if Evan Fournier goes for 45?
I mean, you're not going to have the nuts if Evan Fournier goes for 45. And he's so low owned today that it's not like it's going to impact your ability to finish first. but it's not going to impact your ability to have a profitable night overall. So on FanDuel, Fournier is 3% owned. What is he on I have him 0.7%. Let's see. What is he on DK? On DK, he is. Do you know the number off the top of your head?
I'm not looking at it right now. No, I'm looking at Yahoo.
Okay, so over on DK, Fournier is 4% owned. You don't have to overhaul everything just because you don't have Fournier. He's not popular. If he goes and scores, like you said, 40 fantasy points, you're not coming in first. Doesn't mean you can't come in 20th. It doesn't mean you can't have cashing lineups.
Yep, agreed. We'll see how it kind of transpires. You've got another 2 hours before the lock of that, but we are getting ourselves out of here. Thank you so much to Yahoo. Absolutely love it. Go sign up for their Friday Night Baller, $15K to first. That is going to be for tomorrow's slate. We've got 8 games. It locks at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. They push it back at the half hour so that we're able to talk about their product. Greg and I are going to be right back here tomorrow. God forbid we go down any of the roads that we went down today once more. I'm terrified. But Greg, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, just good luck today. If you haven't done so already, like the video on the way out, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also sports betting now legalized in New York. So if you guys live in the New York area, get familiar with OddsShopper, because there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities and really good bonus offers over at Sportsbooks coming up.
All right. He's Greg Ehrenberg. He's just another human being. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm going to go cry. We'll see you.